What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Welcome back to another episode of the Chicago Clubhouse Podcast, where we think we know everything, but we really don't know shit. But what we do know is we have a great guest tonight, Chicago's own. If you saw the promos, then you know who I'm talking about. I'm not going to say it yet, but we have a great podcast lined up tonight. So we got him, and then we're going to talk about the Bears running backs since 1980, the top 10 Bears running backs since 1980. Now, last week, we started a conversation about the top 10 running backs, but we didn't finish that conversation. Well, we are going to build on that conversation today. We still may not finish it, but we may finish it with the Chicago Bear next week. But this week, we have Chicago's own. He was all-star. He dunked on heads. I can't wait to talk to him. And you talk about touching a lot of people's lives in a lot of different ways. He didn't just touch people playing basketball, but he actually had programs in underprivileged areas. And he also did a little singing. And right now, he is an apostle, saving people, man. So I can't wait to talk to him about all that. And we are going to have How Chicago Are You? Since he is from Chicago, and that's what we do, we're going to ask him a few Chicago questions. And you all know the routine. If he doesn't answer half of them right, he probably from like the suburbs or something, man. He ain't from the city. But anyway, let's get this thing started, man.
You are now rocking with the Chicago Clubhouse Podcast, where they think they know everything, but honestly, they don't know shit.
These summer league games and they tell you about these new up and coming coaches.
I think we should get rid of every motherfucking owner in Chicago.
Enzo and Caruso, both when they are on the court, are like your defensive generals.
But they need to get that strong safety who's not scared to hit somebody.
They really don't know shit.
Yeah, man. So we are ready to get this thing started. Not all the All-Star team is here, but I guess we'll start with who is here. And it's my man, Foul Mouth C, but he's not going to be so foul tonight. Why? Because we have the apostle in here saving people. And we're not going to have Chris up in here cursing like he usually does. It's going to be to a very minimum, if at all. But anyway, I usually say he has the foulest mouth in the city. But not tonight. But let's bring him in. My man, Foul Mouth C.
What up, C?
What up, Foul Mouth?
So should I get these words out now?
You have to do it, right? You have to do it.
Fuck, shit, damn, asshole, motherfucker.
Oh my God. Oh,
I gotta get it all out now, I guess.
My ears. Oh, goodness, man. How was your weekend, bro?
Oh, it was pretty good. Damn. It was kind of busy. Went to my boy. He had his Javen Palooza thing, his 17th annual Javen Palooza.
I missed it. It was good.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good. It rained a little bit,
Yeah,
but
it did.
little rain ain't never hurt nobody. But a lot has killed people. So
You
what else did
missed
I do?
you missed football camp with
I did, man. I was so busy that day. I had to get a haircut, everything, man. I
man.
wanted I wanted to come, man. It was just one of those Saturdays where I
What's
wasn't
more
gonna be able to
important
make
than
it.
the kids, man? What's more important than the kids?
Man, this hair.
your, your hair?
My hair was more important, man. I was out here looking like a damn wolf.
I bet
I
you
had to get it trimmed, man.
our special guest tonight don't care nothing about no hair.
Yeah, he probably bald. He ain't got no hair, so nah, he probably forgot about hair, didn't care about hair a long time ago, so it's okay.
All right, well, the other part of the All-Star team just popped in. So let's
Oh,
bring
did he?
the stat man who knows every single stat from every single team since the 80s and 90s, basketball and football, my man JB.
What up? What up? What up?
What up, JB?
What up, Dad?
Man, just trying to rush, dealing with them little kids. You know how they go.
Yeah, man.
Oh,
So
I
you were
already
there
know.
this weekend. You were there this week. You were there this weekend with the kids in football camp, man. How was it for you? Because you had the older kids.
It's always real fulfilling to give back and to really just see these kids who have that dream and that fire in their eyes. And unfortunately, you got some kids where their parent just sent them there, and they have absolutely no interest in playing no football. But
Right.
at least we try to make them motivate them a little bit, get them a little interested in whatever sport.
Parents just sent them there to have something to do.
Just sending them there. But hey, shout out to Keith Rucker though, man, former guest of ours. He puts on a class act when it comes to that camp, man. Like straight up, like detailed, professional. These kids are getting coaching and doing drills that major D1 colleges are doing. So I'm always impressed and more than willing to work with Keith every year. Yeah. So just a special shout out to Keith Rucker.
Yeah. So it was an awesome camp, man. I had the little kids though. The little kids are easier than the hard kids, the older kids though, because the older kids they know everything. They think they know everything, so you can't tell them nothing. So,
right.
But the little kids, they're like sponges, So whatever you tell them, that's what they're gonna do.
Well, remember this too, though. Even with the older kids, they're still at that cusp where they're 8th grade, 7th grade, freshmen in high school. So they still got a lot to learn themselves. I mean, keep it 100 with you. They still babies themselves. They really don't know what's going on.
Yeah, they babies, but they ain't trying to hear nothing you talking about.
Actually, my group was listening. Like I had a solid group. I can't even trip. Like they were hanging on every word, every drill. Going through the QB drills and everything. Like it was
really,
yeah. I had a great. Well, I had a great group last year too. So
that's awesome, man. So you looking up with your groups? Shit, I need to go wherever your group is. Well, mine was okay. Like I said, they were little kids, so little kids are like sponges, and so it was good.
But I asked Grogo, did he want to come? But he was like, nah.
Grogo ain't want to come. What's
nah.
Up, how you doing, man?
Bro, how you
doing? So, speaking of having camps, our guest tonight knows a lot about that. And I wanted to say that it is super cool that we have, we are blessed to have these athletes, former athletes, on the podcast, and we get to talk to them about their careers and what they're currently doing. Shut up, Grogu, and what they're currently doing. But it's extra special when they're from Chicago. Yeah, Grogu, yeah. It's extra special when they're from Chicago. So I'm going to stop running my mouth, and I want to bring him in here And so I first want to say, though, in 1982, he was actually a first round pick.
Number 2 overall.
Yep. So I mean, he ain't no chump. And if you're not over 30, you may vaguely remember him, but I'm well over 30. So I definitely remember. And he was dunking on heads. So let's bring him in, Apostle Terry Cummings. What's up, sir?
All is well. How y'all doing?
All right, now.
All right. Better now. Good to see you.
Well, it's good to be seen.
So Chris jumped off the podcast, but he was talking about your lack of hair, man. He was talking about your lack of hair.
Man, before it was in style, I was cutting mine off. In my 20s, I saw a couple cowlicks and I went with it. Just kept going and been doing it ever since.
Ever since, huh?
Mm-hmm.
So are you in Chicago now or are you in Atlanta?
No, I live in Georgia.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
I'm home. I come home quite a bit. I'm working a lot in the city, ministry stuff, and working with, I'm also in the music biz, been in it since 84, 85. So I get a lot of business there on that side too.
Okay, cool. Well, I wasn't gonna get into it now, but since you mentioned it, the music, let's hear a little something. So I have a little something that we're gonna take a listen to real quick. Yeah, I did my research, Apostle. I did my research.
I remember telling you just how I feel. I thought if I told the truth, you would know I was being real. I remember telling you.
A nice little piece there.
Yeah.
There's some history in that song too. I wrote that song, I think, when I was playing for the Knicks. And I remember writing it. I was living across from one of the rivers there, and I was looking out and I wrote that song. And then it turns out that when T.D. Jakes was shooting the movie Jumping the Broom, they wanted it, but they didn't have money to pay for it, so I didn't give it to them. They called me back a week later, and he put it on their Sacred Love Hymns Part 2. And Bishop Paul Morton is singing it, but it's the same. It's the song I wrote. They reproduced it.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's the cool side of, hearing other people do your stuff is like grandma cooking, everybody and her sitting in the cut watching everybody eat. That's when you do something that somebody else love on it, man. It did something special for you.
Right. That's dope.
Terry, let me just say something, because I'm way back. I remember there was a time when you actually sung the national anthem before a game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was just thinking, what were some of your inspirations getting into music? Because what I just heard there, that's got a little bit of Gerald Levert, James Ingram type of vibe I'm feeling right there.
Yeah, Marvin Gaye, man, Al Green, a lot of them old heads, man. My dad and them were card playing, Seagram drinking jokers in the backyard. And, they'd play all that music, on my dad's side. On my mom's side, they were super spiritual, so they didn't do that in front of us. But I would hang out with Dad in the backyard listening to that music when I was always being told to shut up. And I'm glad I kept pushing because I felt like my gift was more than basketball. Basketball opened a lot of doors, but, being able to, play, write, produce, create, that's one of the greatest things you can do in life is be able to do something other than what people expect you to do.
Right. And that was just a gift more so than a passion, or kind of like both?
I think both, but it was a lot of work. I set up under a lot of people, whether it was engineers or other artists. Terry Cummings Publishing Company owns the rights to records that we have written for Whitney Houston, Michael McDonald, the Winans, BB and CC Winans, Fred Hammond, I mean, a lot of the gospel artists, contemporary artists, and traditional, and then also a lot of the R&B people. You know, I've been writing with my cousin Percy, who's actually from the West Side there in Chicago. We found together and been doing a lot of work since the '80s.
That's what's up. That's awesome, man.
Mm-hmm. It's a love, man.
So Apostle, tell us exactly where you grew up in Chicago and how was that experience for you?
I grew up down the street a few blocks from Cabrini Green. I was on Willow and Halsted. And before we even knew that Cabrini Green was bad, we was up in there hanging out with all the other little hard heads, and wound up moving from the north side in '72 to Roseland on the south side, and I wound up going to Carver High School while living on the south side.
Okay.
Yeah, so lived on the north and south side, mostly the south as I got older.
Okay. It's funny that you mentioned Cabrini Green, because Foul, don't you live over there now? After they tore it down?
Right here, behind me.
And what it used to be.
I'm saying, look, ain't no towers and row houses.
Nah, it's still some row houses right here, right now. I mean, I'm on my phone, so I mean, I can literally sit up there and show you row houses, like literally right behind me.
Yeah.
Nobody's living in them, but they do got one strip where there's just a bunch of old Cabrini residents that still live here. That's back there, but yeah, it's not Cabrini, not the Cabrini we used to.
No, they was throwing jokers off the roof when I was a kid. I mean, that was like a man. We didn't, you know, when you grow up in the city, you don't really take that stuff to heart, because as bad as it is to the outsiders, it's just the way we live, you know, the way it was. So, but I thank God for it, because it gave me that little edge I needed that I still have, you know, that reminds me, you know, when the little hair stand up on the back of your neck and, you know, jokers be going too far left or right, and be like, you know what, I'm going to stay right here and wait and watch this.
Mm-hmm. Right. To make them hairs.
Yeah. They still work. They work when you get older. They still work.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like, yeah, I ain't going tonight.
So, Carver High School, do you hold the scoring record over there?
I don't think so, because there was a cat that came before me that I'm sure JB probably know, Cassie Russell.
That's Cassie was
yeah, I think he set most of the records. Because see, I didn't, and I think back then, you know, cats had what they did. They had to stay in high school for 4 years. I only played 2 years of high school ball. You know, I played my junior and my senior year. I just happened to grow from between my freshman and sophomore year. Went and spent the summer with my grandparents in Hammond, and grew from 5'8" to 6'4" over that summer, and averaged a couple inches a year till my senior year, and was 6'9" then. So, you know, stuff. And you get this height, and it ain't even in your family. You get gifted with stuff, you know.
Hey, true.
I wish I would have got gifted with it. I was like 5'6" my senior year in high school. Now I'm 5'6.5".
With your shoes on.
With my shoes on.
Yeah.
So go ahead, T. No, I was wondering. So, what was the biggest adjustment from high school to college for you?
Man, you know, I was playing in there. You remember when the Pro-Am was at Chicago State and Malcolm X? I was playing against pros when I was 16 years old. So when I got to high school, by the time I got to my junior year, I was like, none of these cats can play with me. But I've never been cocky or arrogant. You won't hear people say that about me. But in my head, I always believed I was the best player on the court, even when I got to the next levels. You know, I didn't go there thinking I don't belong here. I went there thinking these jokers playing with me. I ain't playing with them. You know, I'm coming with it. You know, because that was the Chicago mindset anyway. You know,
Right.
But I think the biggest difference between with just high school and college was you were playing against another level of talent. And my first 2 years in college, they told me right away, this ain't your team. and we can't do nothing with you. This is Mark's team, so you just got to wait. You know, back then cats had to wait for their opportunity. You know, so when the year Mark left and got drafted by Dallas was my I think it was my junior year and my last year at DePaul, and played a few games. Nobody actually stepped up, but we played Louisville on national television, and that was my coming out game in my junior year. I think I had like 37 or 39 and about 20 boards, and we beat them in Chicago. But the biggest difference was you just playing against better talent, you know. And one of the other differences was, you know, being a kid, I had never seen so many white people in my life in one place. You know, and all, you know, we started out at Alumni Hall, which seated about 10,000. And by the time I was junior, we was breaking in Rosemont Horizon, which was 20,000 people every game.
Right.
The old Rosemont. It was really different. You know, the peripheral was different. Because, you know, even at DePaul with 10,000, the court was right down in the middle, and everybody else was around it in a smaller circumference. But at Rosemont Horizon, I think we lost a lot there because, you know, 10,000 more people, and the court was different. The peripheral was off for you. I mean, only time it was worse is in the 2 All-Star games I played in. Both of them were in domes. So I played in 2 of the largest All-Star games as far as numbers, 70,000 people, I think, both of those games. And that was even worse, you know, just being able to see perspective-wise the court. It was like looking down, and it was in the middle, and it was smaller the further up you went.
Was that San Antonio?
Well, no, but I played in the dome, the Alamo Dome, with the Spurs when I played there.
Yeah, when you left Milwaukee, you went to the Spurs.
Yeah. So my 2 would have been the Houston Astrodome and the dome in Indianapolis. Okay.
You know what? I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think I got your All-Star card.
I know I got check it out. I know I got the $2 because you got 2 different stamps of bucks. I got both of them cards. But I wanted to touch on something real quick because you had mentioned Cazzie Russell. Now that's somebody that, unless you're like a true basketball like savant, you know, that name, you know, may ring true around like, you know, Lakeview or Hayes Park, you know, coming off of here, Moody Bible or something like that. But man, that DePaul team, 2 of those DePaul teams that you played on, speak on that a little bit, because you had some names like Skip Dillard, who could shoot the leather off the ball. Todd Bradshaw was a monster. Teddy Grubbs, rest his soul. Teddy Grubbs was a monster. I believe Teddy Grubbs just recently passed, right?
You did.
Yeah. And it's like you and Mark, like, talk about that, because that was Coach Ray Meyer. And I want to say that was Final Four year, wasn't it?
Well, the year before I came, they went to the Final Four.
That was 78, 79.
Right.
And then your team was
79, 80.
80, right. And you stayed to 81, 82, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, tell us a little bit about that, because you had some Chicago names. I mean, we got this thing called New York point guards, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but New York ain't got nothing on Chicago.
No, you know, I think that, and I'm sure you all probably had these conversations too. Whenever something is first, it sets a priority or a stage that, you know, that is second to none. I mean, I left DePaul and played 18 years in the NBA, and most people remember me from DePaul and not my NBA career, you know, because we were the first. I mean, we hijacked the NCAA, you know, because
y'all weren't even in the conference yet. Back then, you weren't in the Big East, right? Independent, like Notre Dame used to be, right?
Right. Yeah. Right. So you had a choice, and a lot of the Jesuit colleges were independent, and they didn't get into conference play until they had to, because that meant all the monies that they were getting. Like DePaul had contracts locally, nationally, internationally. They owned the rights to so much stuff that they didn't have to share with any conference. But I think, you know, that the edge of playing under the spotlight of WGN, the first flagship, You know,
that's why I used to watch you on WGN.
Yeah, was people all over the country, actually all over the world. I bump into people. I grew up watching you on WGN with DePaul, and I would watch you all every week. You know, and it was like, for me, I'm one of 13 children, 7 boys and 6 girls. I didn't even know I could go to college. I didn't know that I had the ability to go. I mean, seriously, I didn't. No one in the family had quite gone there yet. My brother Lee wound up going to Purdue, and one of my other brothers went to a JUCO. But I didn't know, because nobody had set the pace or the pattern. Nobody had said it where, I mean, these are the stories that when I was younger, I would read about when I studied about the other ballers. You know, all of them came from hardships. You know, they came from places where to go to college, unlike today, it was an honor you couldn't put in words, because it was going to give you an opportunity that others around you, who Caucasians normally had, that Black folk didn't have. Right. You know, I didn't have anybody to say, you know, you're going to follow my footsteps and you're going to college. You know, my mother and father were not even a part of the process. They trusted me enough that I knew what I was doing, you know, because I recruited myself to DePaul. They couldn't even get past the coach. The coach didn't like them. So I had to call them, ask them, I had went to Iowa, visited with Lute Olson. I was on my way to UNLV to check out Tark and them. And before I went to UNLV, I decided I wanted to stay home. So I called DePaul and I asked them why they weren't recruiting me. And they said, we've been trying. We just can't get past your coach. So I called down, set up an appointment, looked at the campus, went in and sat in the office of Ray Meyer, fell in love with the old dude. And come to find out, you know, I knew the area. Right. I lived on the north side.
Right, exactly.
Little city. And it's actually called Little City. You know, that part over there where the campuses are, Abe Hall and all that. And come to find out, when I got to the campus, man, I had been there when I was a kid. I used to ride my bike up in there. Didn't even know what it was, you know?
So wait, hold on. Back up, Terry. Your high school coach from Carver. This is Carver before it became Carver Military Academy.
Right.
So. Why did your coach block you? Because clearly, I mean, I'm just putting it out there. You had your selection. You had your choices.
And all the schools were recruiting me. Yeah.
The state, the nation was recruiting me. So but like, why would he kind of like block you from DePaul, knowing what they just came off of? With Ray Meyer in that Final Four, you know, you was going in and you was like the cog to put them to the next level.
I don't know, but the old heads, them coaches, had information and knowledge about things that we young cats didn't have, and that's just being real. And in fact, and even talking to Ray and Joey over the years, one of the biggest problems was that it being in the city, and so few African Americans were a part of it. And you know, there are more today. Like I hear, you know, my cousins and nephews and nieces and, you know, people in our family, around our family, that went to DePaul. And I have to think that I had a little something to do with that, because I mean, it's a great law school. They have great communications department, great music department, great, really good in video editing and stuff like that. Stuff I would not have known had I not gone to DePaul, you know. But I think, you know, the large piece of it was with Coach Howard. Them was just some country boys, and you know, they didn't necessarily get along with all the white folk, you know, and they you know,
different mindset,
being delicate, because you know, I respect the fact that everybody has a right to feel the way that they want to, but I had made a decision, like I said, that I made on my own. I made it, you know, without direction from my mom and dad. And you know, I mean, I left my mom's house at about 18 years old and never spent another day in their house till I was about 35. You know, because I don't know about y'all, but you know, from the time I was a kid, my mom and dad told us boys, when you get 18, you leaving. You can't stay here. You know, and
work, military.
You're gonna do You ain't gonna be sitting around here. So I always knew I was leaving. I didn't know how or why, but when I left to go to college, I was gone. I mean, I got married at 19. I had 3 kids by the time I was about 25. I was done having kids at 25 and just balling after that, you know?
Wow.
You know, so it's something, you know, when your parents instill certain things in you, it's a fear factor too.
Yeah.
You know, it's not that you can't depend on them. They don't want you to. They want, you know, by the time in that generation, by the time you 17, 18, you are a man. I was a man among boys in high school and college and on the NBA level because I had been raised to be a man.
Absolutely. Good old school foundation.
Yeah.
We sorely miss it today. That's another story. But,
my
mom actually, my mom went to DePaul, so I'm very familiar with you know, that area down there.
Yeah.
Old Freedom Hall when it was across the by the church over there. Like great times down there, man.
Yeah.
And just watching you all and it was something about, you know, because I think 4 of the 5 starters, I could be mistaken, were from Chicago, born and raised.
Yeah.
And then you're right. And it was like the first time, like in history, that like an all Chicago public league school had a system had, you know, went to a college and a D1 college, that is.
Now, this is something you probably didn't get, JB. I wasn't born in Chicago.
I didn't know that. See,
I was born in Hammond, Indiana at St. Margaret's Hospital. And I was, before I was a year old, brought across to Chicago. You know, my mother's side of the family, they still live there now, Hammond and Gary.
Hammond and Gary.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get that either.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's a
fun fact. You know, you can throw that out there, they never figure it out.
You never know. Because like I said, like it was one of those things that just never happened. Like the closest thing I think that happened in more recent times was that flying a line 19. But that was more Illinois based. That wasn't Chicago based.
Yeah.
You know, because you had cats from Aurora and, you know, downstate, like stuff like that, Illinois based. I'm talking about like just
country boys.
There you go.
Yeah.
You know, whether you was from Carver, whether you was from Crane, whether you was from Westinghouse, you know, Marshall, like cats was just coming and balling out in the shy. And look what y'all did. Like, I don't believe, now this one I don't quite remember, but it used to be a trivia question. Like, I don't think DePaul for like that little stretch, that 3 to 4 years, like y'all didn't lose more than 2 or 3 games in a season.
No,
right?
In my 3 years at DePaul, I only lost 5 or 6 games. I lost 6 games in the first 2 weeks with the Clippers. I was having problems, man. I'm like, no.
You wasn't used to the losses. You wasn't used to the losses.
I'm not used to this, dog.
Hey,
no, that's why I asked them to trade me, man. It took me 2 years to get out of there, but I was like, these jokers enjoy losing too much.
Hey, let's dig into that, because that's a perfect segue, because a lot of people don't know this. A lot of people just associate you mainly with the Milwaukee Bucks earlier on, and you know, beating the Bulls in the first round. And then I think
you had to mention that.
Oh yeah, we talking ball. In the next round, that was Moses Malone in the 4-4-4.
Yeah,
right. The year after, either the year before, the year after that, I think you took Boston to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yep, because we were up 7 points with I remember this like yesterday. Up 7 points with about 1:27 to go. The ref swallowed the whistle, and the rest was history. And we
but what team was y'all playing?
Boston. They're playing the Celtics.
Boston. Yeah.
Hey, do I need to say any more?
Now we'll get back to that, because that's a whole nother back to this. That's a whole nother story. But being drafted to the San Diego Clippers at the time, speak on that a little bit, because like we weren't. I mean, like I was still like, how old was I, Mom? Like 4 or 5 maybe. But we watched y'all on CBS or whatever. But it was like after that, I remember like. My dad used to talk about this cat, Marcus Johnson, was cold. Y'all got traded for Marcus Johnson. Like you, Craig,
Yeah,
like
Craig
so speak on that a little, speak on that a little bit about them Clippers, because them was some grim although you was rookie of the year, you were doing your thing. But you were doing your thing. And Craig, that was it.
Craig and them didn't get a whole bunch of play, Craig and Rick, but they were really straight ballers. They could play, which their career shows.
Right.
But playing in San Diego, the hardest part was that the NBA game wasn't hard for me. It never was. The hard part of playing in the NBA was one NBA season was 3 college seasons.
Thanks.
Travel and all that stuff, and it took a toll on my body physically, and I had to learn how to adapt to it because I only had one speed when I was younger. I was just playing straight ahead, just back and forth, up and down the court, running at full speed, hustling, defending, scoring. I'm 2 years with San Diego. The first year, the rookie of the year, I averaged about 24 and 10. And then the second year was about 23 and 9, close to 10. So I had really good seasons, just nobody got to see it. Not because we were just because we were a bad team, but we were on the West Coast where the only thing mattered was the Lakers.
Oh, you already know that.
Yeah, and you had to play the game because I was young when I figured out, and I don't want this to go out wrong, but I was young when I realized, I think I was still in my 20s when I realized the game is kind of rigged. The catch that the teams, and it ain't because I got any animosity toward anyone, it's just the way things move. Like I've learned to sit back and watch in the off season, the league is telling you who's going to be what, who's going to be rookie of the year, who's going to win the MVP, who's going to be in the championship.
It's already programmed and kind of media driven.
Yeah, and it ain't just them saying this is what's good for the NBA. This is what we would like to see. It's almost as though they go out their way at times. I had this talk one year. I think we were it was a strike on, and I talked to the commissioner at the time, and he had called me out the blue, and he asked me, he said, "Well, what do you think about this strike?" And I said, "Well, the problem with this strike is it ain't got nothing to do with about 80% of your players. It's that 15 to 20% y'all give all the marketing to. Them so-called elite kind of players that you all chose over everybody else. They're the ones that are slowing this thing down. And they weren't that 15, 20% wasn't fighting for the 80%. They were fighting for themselves. And so he said, you really think that we do things a little different for certain people? I said, absolutely. I said, look, I've been in the league a while. I know Karl Malone only goes right. Why is it that if you set on his right hand and he drives and runs into you, he gets the whistle? I said, that's because the game is slighted toward him.
Can't have him look bad.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's like people like that when I came in, being from Chicago, man, you built different. And everybody in the league want to know why. So all the cats was around Karl Malone, Charles Barkley. I ran into all them jokers and have their respect today because I'm that dude. I'm the one that would be like, yeah, I know y'all think I'm nice and kind, but you get on this court with me, we gonna rock. It's gonna go down a different way. There's I love the game of basketball more because of the being cerebral with it. But the second piece was I love the physicality. And when they took that away from the game, they just, they changed everything.
Right.
When you can't touch people, then people who are not gifted or talented get exposed on a lot of levels. And then it makes cats that are really good great.
True.
And the first person I ever saw that really had that green light like that was Mike, MJ. I watched them over the years migrate into something different, but he when we would play them, I would watch, if the game was close in the last 4 minutes, Mike got the ball and got the whistle. So if you were going to beat the Bulls, you had to beat them without it being a close game.
And that was predicated upon who they wanted to anoint.
Yeah,
celebrity.
He was
financial reasons, obviously. But
yeah, he was the and still is, but he was smart enough as a business person not to let them get more than he wanted them to have. Because the NBA and I should say this is probably equal to any corporation or business. The NBA cares more about its brand than the people that carry it.
Yeah.
And you just have to understand that. And it ain't necessarily personal. It's just how business is. Like my brand matters more to me than your brand. Because, I labor in it. I built it up. I'm going to respect your brand. I'm not going to do anything out of order, but I still have a lot of love for my own too.
Right.
Yeah. And it's funny that you say that because I don't think a lot of these players today, Ja Morant, think that, like it is what it is. Like they do care more about their brand than they care about you. And a lot of these young guys, they come up and they think, oh man, well, the NBA, what would they do without me? They can't market it this way without me. And they can.
Yeah.
They can definitely do that. They care about that image.
Yeah, they do. I mean, I had to share this because I was working one year while I was still in the league playing. And I had a spot out in LA, and I was working with a bunch of young rappers and hip hop producers because I was working on my sound. So I wanted to work with them on how they had got that fatness in their sound. Mm-hmm. And it turns out, I had permit to carry a gun, but I was in LA, and I had a bunch of carry-on black bags, a bunch of different ones. And one day I forgot which one I wouldn't even think about it. I was actually really tired and wound up going through security. And them jokers pulled me and walked me to about 3 different jails, put me on display. And then next day or week, it was real big in the news. And I've never thought of guns except for when I was younger. Even then, I always thought you do this to protect you and yours. You ain't out there, flamboyantly carrying stuff around to hurt people. Right. But this is for your protection and your family. So the NBA called me in, went in because the NBA has a part of them that is this old school FBI for real. It's retired FBI. They do all of the security work for the league. And so the guy calls me in, and he starts going in on me like I was young thug, somebody, and I said, oh no, bro, it ain't like that. I said, I'm not gonna let you make me out to be no thug. I said, I made a mistake. That's all that is. I wasn't doing anything as far as I was concerned to draw any attention to anyone. He says to me, he said, when they pick up the newspaper, they read NBA star Terry Cummings is caught, with a handgun going through security. And I said, yeah. I said, but I don't care more about your brand than I do my own. Right. I said, it's because you sitting up here talking to me like you think the NBA matters more than me. I said, I spend my whole life working on having a good name. I said, so I wouldn't do something like that. He said, so why do you have to carry a gun? I said, why you carry one?
That's it.
Why do you carry a gun? He said, well, I'm licensed. I said, I got a license for mine too. I just made a mental mistake. I was doing too much, all the working and stuff. And he said, so you mean to tell me that if you were in a situation where you had to pull it and use it, you could do it? I said, bro, I wouldn't even have a second thought. I said, I know how to shoot somebody without killing them. If it's going to come down to something like that, I know how to protect myself. I mean, if you don't panic and you calm, you'll be all right. Right. You ain't got to kill nobody. I mean, that's how we know that the cops that do that kind of stuff, and this ain't about all cops. This is just about those who they ain't calm enough to be in a position to hold something that takes a life. Mm-hmm. Because you have to really be calm and well, that's a whole nother show, but a whole nother bunch of feelings about that. But I was sharing that story just to because we were talking. It's relative to the brand of the NBA. They care more for the brand, and I think even the thing with Ja. I mean, if Ja goes out and where in the state he lives in, he has a right to carry the gun, even if he's waving it on the tube. He also has a right to fight for his right to have that. Now, I'm not condoning it, but I'm saying that one of the things I've not heard anyone say anything about as it pertains to Ja is he may have a right to carry that arm and do that what he was doing. It's just against the policy of the NBA.
Right. Because depending on the state, that is legal.
Yeah, it could be that he has that liberty. But the thing is you have to be real careful and fight. You have to fight them because they're right, but so are you. If you got a permit or a license to carry. Now he's just young and don't, no disrespect to him. He's young and dumb, and I mean dumb in the sense of ignorance, because he don't
of the world. And see, and I'm glad you said that, because I don't want to stray too much further down that political road. Mm-hmm. But you stated something about how influential and how grounded and foundational your parents were with raising a man. T. Morant, if you're listening, be a father to your child, not his friend.
Yeah,
I'm gonna leave that alone, because
that's always a mistake. When you choose the path of friendship above being a father. I have 3 sons, and all of them at one time or another have said to me, "You are not my friend." I said, "I ain't gotta be your friend. I'm your daddy."
That's it.
I don't have to be your friend. You don't have to like this discipline, but it's coming.
Man, I'm trying to tell you.
That's
they need that out here in the world right now, man. This generation, they just lost. They don't feel like they should be punished for anything. There's no consequences behind what they do. And in a sense, it really isn't, because society and the people that are in power are making it so where they don't have consequences behind the things that they do.
I agree with you. I think that's unfortunate for our children, because it means they grow up with blank areas.
Yeah.
They know something is supposed to happen, but it's a blank area because ain't nothing happening.
I think it's by design for a grander scheme,
Yeah, but, you're gonna get over there yet, ain't you?
So, Apostle, 18 years in the NBA, you have dunked on a lot of heads, dropped people off a lot, even before there was the 3-point line.
Mm-hmm.
Can you name us your favorite drop off from 3, or when there wasn't a 3, and then your favorite dunk? Because I have one.
You got one?
I have one of your favorite dunks.
Oh, I thought you were saying your favorite dunks. Were you dunked on?
Did you hear how tall he was?
I know you could do it, bro. I know you could do it.
He ain't Nate Robinson.
No, the thing about first of all, man, thanks for having me on, man. And I don't do as many podcasts as I used to, because I'm busy doing a whole bunch of other stuff. But I like doing my homegrown stuff, with my peoples, because a lot of times people, they forget you, because I'm not the dude that's gonna be knocking on the door telling you, look what I did. I'm gonna be the dude that says, let it speak for me, because I did it, and let that be enough. But with the drop off stuff, man, I dunked more in my first year than I think I did the next 17 years combined. Young and still had that pro-am mindset. Anything around the bucket went down hard. But I used to. My biggest games were always against the best teams.
Philly, for sure.
Lakers. We played the Lakers a lot back then. So I would go in there and I saw stuff I didn't even know I did. I've been finding old footage and stuff, dunking on the whole team, driving, like one of my things was faking right and going hard left, because I had a quick first step. And you couldn't put no big guy on me, and you couldn't put a small guy on me because I'd post him up, but stuff like that. And then the jumper, man, was just pure back then, no aches, no pains, no hurting, because to be a good jump shooter, you got to be physically balanced. I mean, it's because it's like a triangle, because this triangle happens in everything you do, whether you're playing defense or offense. But mostly on offense, if you square up to the basket, you got a triangle. It's always there. Most people don't notice it, but it's right here. This the triangle.
Right.
And you all you want to do is keep that triangle when you shoot, you know, and when you aiming and when you following through, you triangle into a basket, you know, because that's the follow through is coming down into the basket. And it's like little things that you pick up along the way that you just be like, you know what? Being a perimeter player, being able to post up, being able to handle the ball, running like a two guard. I mean, that was what got me over in the league, cause and just that edge, you know. I wasn't gonna let you punk me, you know. You weren't gonna talk to me just any kind of way. I give you the benefit of the doubt the first time, but second time I walk up to you and whisper in your ear, you know, because the catch used to say,
"You gonna see me."
Man, you remind me of Clint Eastwood, man. I would go whisper in the Joker ear, his whole countenance would change. You know, you got one more time, bro. I said, one more time. This ain't gonna work out like you think it is, and you ain't gonna one punch me because I'm not that one. I said, we gonna fight till I
right till you die.
Yeah, I tell Joker, you gotta think about stuff like that. If you're gonna fight a dude that tell you you're not gonna one punch me and run your mouth, no, bro. If I got to come to the locker room, I'm coming to get you. So whatever you thinking about, you need to put this in that too. We're gonna fight till I get tired. And I could tell you in my 18 years, I swear it off once with Lonnie Shelton, but I never had a fight with anybody.
They didn't want that smoke. So no, they didn't.
You did get upset one time. I'll get to that. I'm watching the game. I want to think it was on TNT that day. We'll get back to it, but I'll just put this on your mind. Dennis Rodman, you know exactly. You was on the Sonics. I used to be a Super Sonics fan. You know, you was on the team with Sean Kemp and them.
Seattle, yeah.
I believe Frank Bukowski had left, and because in fact, you got your number back. You was 34.
Yeah,
and you was playing, and Dennis was doing his normal Dennis stuff, and you had to put Dennis on the ground for a half a second and be like, "Hey, man, you ain't pulling that San Antonio foolishness. I know what you do."
Yeah, but I played, you know, all them years I played against them in Detroit. You know, I roughed up him, Lambier, Mahorn. You know, I went through all of that stuff with them jokers. You know, when we played those kinds of teams back then in Milwaukee, you couldn't play structure because they didn't play. They played street ball.
Right.
Yeah. If it was going to be Detroit, you had to play street ball to beat them.
But they didn't try to punk y'all like they did the Bulls so much because you all, I mean, come on, you all.
We had men. We were men.
Big.
Yeah, and we were men.
Them boys, like y'all was big.
I used to I love playing against those physical teams like that. Because the one thing about most people who are bullies is they're not used to getting bullied.
Right.
You know. So when that joker, when that one that withstand them shows up, you know, it causes a flux of problems and issues, both on offense and defense.
So tell me, who was the toughest guy for you to guard? Who was the one dude that just gave you fits?
The person that best defended me was we were just Kevin McHale because he was long. I mean, he was really long. I had to get him away from the basket, and it wasn't just because of him, because they would put both 7-footers on me, him and Parrish. So beat one, you got to get past the other one. When you do, as far as forwards, you know, I think Barkley was one of the toughest assignments because his center of gravity. You know, I know I'm coming off like some scientist or something, but his center of gravity. I mean, the Joker, when he bent, he sprung. I mean, he bent and his center of gravity was really low. He got really low if you watch him, with the exception of when he was on the break, running the break. But if he got in the paint, he would do what big guys would do: power dribble down, power up. You know, but he had so much spring in his legs. And he had that weight and quickness with him. I mean, for a big guy, he didn't look as quick as he was, but he was. You know, and as far as, you know, there was two guys, I think, other than that. You know, me and Buck Williams would go at it.
Buck Williams, I forgot about Buck Williams. Was a guy you don't mess with either.
Yeah, he was a 1-5 guy. and then Oakley, and then a guy that most people probably don't know about. His name was Mike Williams. Mike was probably about 6'10" and about 260, 270, and he was just physically strong, and I'd always been the strongest person no matter who was on the court. I was the guy sticking the Shaqs and the Kareems and moving them jokers out to the 3-point line. He was difficult on the offensive end until I realized I don't need to set up here and wrestle with him. I'm gonna take him somewhere he don't want to play. We're gonna go out there in the deep, because I got handles and a jumper. And big players don't like to move side to side. And that would be what I would do to kind of regulate things. Because when you playing the game, the object of the game is to be at your best all the time. And your best may not be you always playing your A game. You have to go to the other aspects of your game if you have it, which is the driving to the basket or driving to a spot, pulling up, shooting the jump, or shooting the in-between shot, or outrunning them on the fast break, getting easy buckets. If they make me work too hard on the set offense, then I make my butter, outrunning and outworking them on a fast break. Right. I mean, this is, that cerebralness that comes with playing the game. You don't make the game harder than you need to.
Right.
Because if Joker got you in an area and you can't contend with them, you're a fool to set up there and keep trying to.
Right. Hey, you know what? That's spot on. I was gonna say some of the, just watching, vintage games and what I can sparingly remember, but like that 1982 draft, like most of you all, like the small forwards in your draft, Dominique Wilkins, yourself, big game. James Worthy was number one pick for the Lakers. A lot of people don't realize one of my favorite commentators actually, Clark Kellogg, was a problem. And like you all kind of was like the beginning of that, in my opinion, the beginning of that like small forward, but in a power forward frame, almost like the point forward. You know what I'm saying? So talk about just that a little bit, because now traditionally you're not 6'9" with a 7-foot wingspan sitting in the post. You're moving around, you're controlling the offense. And I know, because like I said, San Diego was different, even though you had Ricky and Craig, Tom Chambers, I believe, too, early Tom Chambers. But speak on that a little bit about like how the game just changed a little bit for you.
Well, with our crew that came in, we were legitimate small forwards who could play 3, 4, and 5.
3, 4. Okay.
And that's what we changed, because the small forward didn't just stick the small forward, and the power forward didn't just stick the power forward. It changed in how strategically the game was played, because you could put a smaller, stronger, quicker guy on a big guy who was slow. And the object wasn't necessarily to stop the big guy. It was just to put him in a predicament where he had to always shoot over you. He never got to the rim. And the irony of it is that as all of us played multiple years in the league, those first 3 or 4 players that got drafted. But I remember the shift afterwards. The next shift was a 3 who was about 6'11" and had a 8-9 foot wingspan. So the game was changing again, and those guys were small forwards, power forwards, and they can play center too, and then it changed again to where it is now, because I remember that change from playing in Milwaukee and then going to San Antonio, and Coach Nelson went to Dallas and then to Golden State. That draw and kick game was born in Milwaukee. Because that's
kind of like what y'all ran, right? With Sidney Moncrief and Preston, that's kind of like what y'all was running.
Yeah, Ricky Pierce was a big part of that too. Because one thing we never had in Milwaukee, but later on Jack Sitman came, was we never had a bona fide center. So you were tight at every other spot, but we didn't get a center till Alton was a defensive specialist, but we didn't get a center until Jack Sitman came, and he was at the end of his career when he got there.
T, I wanted to ask you something, because I don't know, maybe it's just the fan in me, or maybe I just think I can do a lot better. Tell me this, do you really think there are a lot of smart GMs out there just in sports, period, or it's just a bunch of Jackass is that. I'm sorry. I gotta get in a cuss word here and there every now and then.
Jackass ain't a bad word.
Yeah. I can't hold it, man. Everybody got a vice.
Yeah, that's all right. I used to have that one too. I grew up with a cussing father. He helped me. He helped you.
Oh, boy.
To answer your question, I do. I believe that there, as in any entity of business, there's a greater portion of people who are in position to lead that are not leaders than ought to be. I think with the GMs, when I left Golden State and retired there, they were asking me to come and be an assistant coach, and I told them, I said, I've been a player coach the last 8 years. Well, why would I want to do that? What I will do is I'll come and help you build this team from the ground up. But they didn't want that, or they weren't ready for that at the time. So I chose not to go that route. But I think you have to have a certain passion to be a general manager, because you have to understand it is your responsibility to build this team. And the crown of the team has to be the coach, and the coach has to understand the responsibility he has to the players, because he cannot just coach them. He has to be a father to them, a psychiatrist, a doctor. He has to be able to point them in directions, because a lot of us, when we came up, my dad was an alcoholic most of my life. And he stopped drinking when I was 16, 17 years old, and died when I was 25, and I played 15 more years in the league after that. So I died without a father. So the thing is the GMs don't. The teams I played for instance, in the last 7, 8 years, they brought me in. They traded for me. In my late 30s, they were trading for me because they had heard how good I was as a leader. Right. And I was able to speak the language. I was able to do the that thing we were laughing about, put hands on people. And be trying to talk to them like we talking now. And they would just try to bum rush you. And so then when you start talking their language and they realize the stuff they heard about you is true, now by the time they figure that out, they about a half inch away from really getting knocked straight out. A few of the guys, I had to tell them, I said, you don't disrespect me now. I said, no, and me, I'm calm with my stuff. You might not even think it's real until you look in my eyes. I'm right up on that. But I kept getting traded to the teams because the general managers and the coaches couldn't control the players, and they needed a liaison between them. So every team I played with, and that's why I think it was the best basketball I ever played in my life, was my last 6 to 8 years, because I got to be the whole man. The whole
You weren't just like the star player. You were more like the glue. Like, let's keep everything, let's get equity of voice and stuff. Because I always wondered, a little known name coach, I just remember him. But when you were in the Spurs, right? That was, a lot of people think Greg Popovich. No, that was a cat by the name of Bob Hill back in the day.
Yeah.
And Coach Hill. So was he the one that kind of like brought you in? Because I noticed you had a lot of
Larry Brown.
Larry Brown? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I played for him twice. I played for him in San Antonio.
Right. And
toward the end of my career, he brought me in for Derek Coleman and Alum.
In Philly.
Yeah.
I remember you was like, that was like one of your last couple of seasons you were playing in Philly.
Yeah. But it was, people, I think sometimes that's all they saw was those last 7, 8 years. I never averaged more than 10 points, but it was the most productive time in my whole life as a professional athlete, because I got to lead these guys. I
was gonna say, but that's skewed, because I remember you coming in for a couple of injuries, like, man, Terry still got it. And then when people came back or whatever, or a losing streak, you come in, play a little spark.
Yeah.
And then, you go, especially like, and again, in that San Antonio, where that was like that weird era where like, Dennis was looking like Demolition Man, up here and all that stuff. Cause like Terry, I'm a fan, like you were one of my favorite players, like real talk.
I appreciate it.
I follow my play. That's how I know. Like when you went to the Knicks, I was like, no, come to the Chicago Bulls. But
they had that. True story. They called me after I played in San Antonio. Mike was still playing.
Mhm.
And they called me and asked me if I was interested in coming to play for the Bulls. And I was like, yeah. And then they started asking me a bunch of Dennis Rodman questions. And I said, oh, you don't really want me. You want Dennis.
They
He
want
said,
you to come manage him like they did
yeah.
Jack
He said,
Haley.
no, we want both of you. I said, no, you can't want both of us. I said, because I'm not an invalid. I said, I can still ball. I said, and I'm not going to be babysitting Dennis. That ain't my MO.
Right.
I ain't gonna He said, well, you could come here and win a championship. I said, look, everything in my life I've earned. I told him just like that. I said, ain't nobody ever gave me nothing. I said, I'm not going to come there and sit on your bench and pacify this joke over here and win a championship and feel good about me because
He a handler, right?
Mhm.
Like,
But they wouldn't
you know what?
have liked me
Player of your
if they'd have
caliber.
had me for a handler for him. They wouldn't have liked me. But I was helping them out.
You would have right. You'd have gave him some act right because, like
Yeah.
I said, and no shade to anybody because if you made it to the NBA, you were the I don't care if you were the 15th man and didn't dress, you were a great player. But somebody to your caliber, Terry, in my opinion, that is disrespectful because look at the body of work that you've had, look at what you've produced.
Yeah.
And now you're saying you want me to just come make sure he don't spaz out.
Yeah.
No, that is disrespectful.
I mean, it was the best of both worlds for them because if he didn't work out, they would have had me.
Right, because you could have still came in and produced.
Yeah.
Well, Dennis was not a scorer.
Yeah,
He wasn't a
still at 40, they were still running plays in the fourth quarter for me in Golden State. And Golden State.
Mhm.
You know, they were running. I would tell them, look, I can't play 30, 40 minutes a game, but let me play the first quarter and you can put me in the fourth. I'll help you win. And that's
Right.
what I would do.
Man. See, the thing was, the reason why I was asking about the gyms, because I don't know, maybe it's just a fan in me, but I see a lot of GMs, I watch a lot of ball, I see a lot of GMs not addressing certain needs that they have. And there's players out there that I know for a fact that can sit up there and help and address those needs. But I'm sitting up there just like any other fan, like, damn, why won't they go get this player? Damn, why won't they get that player? Prime example, my goddamn Chicago Bulls.
Mhm.
I don't understand for the life of me. This dude, AK, Arturus Carnival, I don't know what his name is, Carnival, whatever his name is, him and Mark Eversley, the last 4 years he's been here, you went and got Vooch, a center that that sits up there that's great offensively, but has his limitations defensively.
Mm-hmm.
You still have not addressed that power forward position, getting him a tall defensive guy that can sit up there, that can block shots, grab some rebounds, and run the floor. You still haven't done that, and yet everybody in the media, the fans get on Vooch because, oh, man, people can just go to the hole. Well, he's not a good defensive player. That's on the GM. And here it is in year 4, you still haven't addressed it. You keep getting a guy that's 6'6" or 6'4" or 6'7" to sit up there to try to play that power forward position when you need someone with some more height and with better defensive ability, someone that can alter shots.
Yeah. Well, I tend to be real transparent because I believe the transparency, the more transparent you are, the less you have to lie about.
Mhm.
When I played in the league early on, before Kevin McHale came to Boston, Bird had to stick me, and we had to stick each other. So we wrote each other off. So if he got 35, I got 35. And he couldn't stick me. And I wasn't sticking him. I was playing the 4 or the 5 because I think he was playing the 3 when I first came in the league.
He was.
But my point is that they hid his inabilities behind a Kevin McHale and a Robert Parrish. That's why he could float around the way he did, and they called him a great defender. But really, he wasn't defending nobody. He normally wound up sticking that guy who was a 5 and had no offensive ability.
Right.
He would always move around the floor, and I shouldn't say he couldn't play D. It's just that players like myself, we were so much quicker than him. I mean, and that speed he played at was really weird for us to defend him on the other end. I never disqualify his ability because I played against him for so long, and I was just amazed that if you didn't think of him as a white boy, he was a hell of a baller.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
definitely.
I mean, he did work. I heard stories about him, you know, where he was offended when teams would put a white boy on him. He said,
I heard that too. Yeah.
he did a lot of talking, but I never, like me and him, I never had problems with guys, you know, because I always felt like the more you talk to me, the more I was going to rough you up. You know, I was going to give it to you harder, you know, because that was the thing that kind of just helped me. But back to what you were talking about, I think that it's just a lot of cats that shouldn't be in those positions.
Yeah.
To be able to make the choices you're talking about, you have to have the mind of a visionary. But if you just happy to have a job, you ain't envisioning nothing. You know,
Man.
you want to keep that job, which is like the politicians who want to just keep the power.
Right.
You know, they don't care about nothing else. They just want the power.
Yeah. It's about egos and politics.
Yeah, it is.
And the owners, they're not any better because they're the ones empowering these GMs to make these bonehead decisions. Once they look and see their dollar amount is in the green and not in the red, unless you're Jerry Jones and what's my man? He passed away. That used to own the New York Yankees, George Steinbrenner.
George Steinbrenner.
Those are the only two owners that I know were like legit hands on. Like, no, I'm trying to win. Like,
yeah, but both of them have this. Both of them have this in common too, JB. They were not just visionaries; they were trendsetters.
Trendsetters, good.
You know, they set the trend for everybody else to follow. And most owners don't have enough digestible understanding of how just basketball is played, what goes into it, and when you can't be touched with what other people are going through, it puts you at a negative. And that they're just things you won't know. You ignorant because you don't know them. You know, and you can't understand stuff you don't know.
Yeah. So we got a lot of ignorant GMs out there.
I'm about to say educated dummies. We used to call them.
Yes, well, we hear you at the beginning in the intro. We hear you talk about the GMs.
Man, Jesus Christ!
You have more former players.
You bad, ain't it?
Man, you got, look. I put to you like this, T. I love, like, this is my city. I love this city. It's the best city in the world to me. I love our sports teams. To me, the city glows. It has a different swag about itself when the sports teams is winning. Hell, I even think that when the sports teams are winning, the crime is down.
Yeah, the violence.
You know,
absolutely.
But it's just seems like for the life of me, I cannot understand why the city of Chicago sports franchises run their franchises as if they're, you know, these small market teams. They don't want to spend money. They never want to get the big fish. Oh, they have a seat at the table, but you don't never eat. Well, you have a seat, but you don't never eat. And then you sit up there and you can't think of, for the life of you, why we can't get this player, or why we don't feel this need, why we don't do that. And it's just a pattern that keeps repeating itself.
They're not looking to win, because a franchise, no matter whether it wins or loses, is going to make money. Yeah. So there's nothing that drives them to make these decisions because they're getting paid no matter what. And even if they ain't getting paid now, when they sell it, the average franchise is at least worth $1 billion or $2 billion. So all you're doing is waiting for the time when it comes, okay, I'm going to take a break, or I'm going to stop doing this. I'm going to sell this whole franchise and I'm going to just call it quits. So it ain't really no incentive for a lot of them because they're getting paid. I'm going to tell you a true story. It would have been probably in the mid 80s, if not the late 80s. We went on strike. We went on strike because the NBA, who's supposed to be made up of all of these tiers of men of integrity and character, these owners had been holding out. They were holding out on signage. They were holding out on monies that needed to come. They should have been in the players' pot for all the players.
Oh, the pie. The way they split the pie.
Yeah, the collective bargaining agreement. Come to find out, these jokers was getting so much money that when our people started digging into it, we got to $500 million, and they called quits. Because if we kept going, we would have been into the billions, because with all the signage alone, they were making billions of dollars. And then the NBA worldwide
this is in the 80s.
Yeah, the NBA is a multi-billion-dollar business universally.
Right.
And problem is, most cats don't even think like this about them, because they're only busy getting that little change they get. And having been there, I felt I was the same way. It wasn't until I stepped away later on in my career, I started realizing how important it was to build my brand. And the NBA is a great platform to build your brand on, because as long as you're on the platform with them, they'll do anything you ask them to do. You might have to work a little harder to get them to see it, more harder than some of the other players, but they'll get behind you because their brand is on you. And they'll still do it in this retired place. I still have a lot of relationships that when I get ready to do stuff, I know who to call.
Yeah, well, you need to call Jerry Risendorf.
Is he still around?
Shit, he hold on. He hold on, man.
He's still around.
His son is
reeling him in, and his
son is running the team. His son is running the team.
Michael is running the team.
Yeah, well, he about as dumb as his daddy is, because it don't make no sense.
I promise you, they don't care about
I can tell. I think that there should be a rule that there should never be two owners. I mean, an owner should never sit up there and own two franchises.
But yeah, that sounds good. But that's what they call capitalism.
Yeah.
Because what's his name? He owned, I think, the Colangelo. Same thing. He owned, the Suns, and he owned a baseball team or something. Or
somebody else just did that. They owned a baseball team. Dude that owns Portland. He owns.
Paul Allen.
Paul Allen.
He
owns the Seattle
Seahawks
and the Portland Trailblazers.
That's bank. That ain't money. That's bank.
He ain't hurting.
I'll tell you this: if this lottery get big enough,
I thought somebody won that lottery.
At 922, somebody did.
We need to go somewhere and pray, don't we?
I'm trying to tell you. I sit there for hours and pray.
Go find that jackass you was talking about.
Right.
Put it on him and walk him up and down the street.
So, Apostle, your greatest dunk that I thought, I was little and I hated. Well, I shouldn't say hate. I strongly disliked the Pistons, and I'm sure you know why.
Yeah.
So earlier you mentioned that you gave it to Bill Laimbeer. I couldn't stand, and a lot of Chicagoans probably couldn't stand Bill Laimbeer. And I happen to have this dunk that I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about. Did the up and over on him.
Give me that. Give me that, T. Give me that.
That was a low post move, drop step, up, and he got up, and I went under and wound up in that position. I remember
banged him.
Yeah, that's one of those things give you a brain freeze when you come out of it. You be so, that's that thing that pump. You can be so pumped over some of the things that happen, and it was really tough to be pumped all the time because you're playing 100 games a year.
Yeah.
But the big games, you could, it wasn't that hard to get up for. I learned real early that if you win the games you're supposed to, they put you in position to play the great games.
Thanks.
Now tell me, T. Now, when you was in the league, how was you like when it came down when y'all going to different cities? Were you going out and hitting the clubs, partying? Man, or you just a guy, I'm just gonna sit back, relax? I know you probably like that in the later years.
No. Well, even as a young kid, I was married at 19, so
even
the other young cats, they would get out, but like I didn't go to a club till I was 35 years old. Damn. I had a unique process. I got married at 19. I was divorced at about 34 or 35, and it was the first time I'd ever been single. So I was learning then different. I love music. We talked about that. So I go to places where they had live bands, but I had to stop going to clubs because it's a different mix, for me. And it's always an element in the club, not just the one that does the shooting and stuff, but the elements in there that ain't conducive to who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I had to stop all of that, but I needed to have the experience to know that.
Okay.
So getting back to the Pistons, talking about the Pistons, JB has a little something that he wants to ask you in this segment called Full Court Press.
You're muted, T. You're muted.
Okay.
I didn't have you muted.
I'm good now. All right. Yes. So JB wanted to ask, and I'm gonna put it up here so he doesn't get the quote wrong. Here it is.
So head to head, I was dominant over Michael Jordan until 91 when I basically had a career-ending wrist surgery. It really wasn't a competition. My focus was Bird, Magic, Dr. J, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. These are the words of Isaiah Thomas, a Chicago icon, a Chicago great. Now, I have my own feelings and theories about this because the first one, how do this kid from North Carolina come in and take over my city?
Mm-hmm.
But when I come from Detroit back home, nobody's even coming to my camp. Like Isaiah Thomas got a camp, Sonny Parker got a camp. We going to Sonny Parker.
Mm-hmm.
We see, you know what I'm saying? We see Sonny. Sonny's here. Played for the Warriors. Sonny came back home. Mm-hmm. We don't see Isaiah too much. But when he does, it's all cameras and show, whatever. What is your take on that? Because I think Isaiah was being very disrespectful and not giving they call it saying giving your flowers right now. However you want to phrase it. But to sit up there and say he wasn't any competition, I think that's blasphemous.
Yeah, I don't think he believed that either, though.
That's just rude.
I mean, the thing is you ain't really got to look that far. The championships that they won, he wasn't playing, right? Wasn't one of those in the year that Mike took a year off, or was that?
No. So remember, the controversial thing was if Isaiah they had what was it? It was some phantom call that they're saying the Pistons would have three-peated 88, 89, 90.
Okay.
In that 91 season, which to me is just okay. The first time the Bulls, played, they won. They beat them 4-0. Pistons swept them 4-0. The second season, when they went to Eastern Conference Finals, the Bulls were up 2-0. They came back, right? 1-4-2. If we remember that same series, remember Scottie Pippen had a migraine. Bulls lost, 4-3. How do you not count that man as competition? You have a book. A Hall of Fame coach, rest his soul, Chuck Daly, came up with rules for a specific player. How is that man not your competition?
Yeah, like I said, I don't think he believes that. I think there's something about the pride of us who grew up in Chicago too. And the thing is it's not a irrelevant reality. It's a very relevant reality that Mike came and set up shop in Chicago. Mike did a lot of things.
I just thought about something. I don't mean to cut you off real quick before I forget. Didn't you all used to play over here when you say Chicago State? Not C. Was it C?
We were on the same team.
CIY or CY, something like that.
Playboy.
Right. Okay.
So we played on the same Pro-Am team, me and Mike, for maybe 8 to 10 years. However long I played in the Pro-Am, and we would either win the tournament and he would be MVP or we'd be co-MVP. We played
I remember that
the whole time doing that. And then I would do these all
at Chicago State, right?
Yeah. I would do the All-Star games. We did one at the stadium, at Chicago Stadium. We did one at IIC. And we did one down in Milwaukee. And Mike came down and played in all of them. And I'm saying this because it endeared him, you know, to the people, because we were in the inner city. I was doing a camp for 23 years that I paid for out of my pocket. And that was that whole group of kids, 250, 300 kids or more, we would bring to those games. And I wanted them to have the exposure of something other than Augill Gardens. You know, I wanted them to know that the world outside the world existed, you know, so I would take them to a banquet hall, feed them. You know, the first year or two, they acted real wild. But after they realized they had this was their baby, they settled down. And that's when they started to grow. And then I started bringing the MJs and the Hardaways, Tom Chambers. All the cats would come for me, you know. And I'm saying that to say something that JB, you said, is that, you know, Zeke stayed away like a lot of the Chicago players did, you know, and they made their money where they were. But to gain the you know, the love of the people, you have to be with the people, you know, because I still think, aside from my time at DePaul, people remember that Pro-Am stuff, because that was the kind of entertainment you couldn't get on the NBA level.
That was our Rucker Park.
Yeah.
And it was hot in there too. Gee.
Oh, when the flow starts,
I remember that, Terry. Like, you don't understand, like, Chicago basketball at that time, because really fully transparent, right? You either knew somebody, went yourself, or you was trying to read the paper.
Yeah. Yeah, it was big.
Just to be there, to go to Foster Park, you know what I'm saying? To go to CIY, to go to YVI, I'm sorry, to go to Moody, like, those were things that, like, not too many people knew that went on.
Well, you know, the other thing that was really big is that we played a lot of outdoor ball. We played in the parks.
Y'all were visible.
Yeah. So we would go, what was the one on King Drive? It was a spot on King Drive that all the ballers would go to on the south side.
Cole Park.
Yeah.
Cole Park, right there on King Drive, about 83rd, 84th.
Them jokers would come up out there, man, and they'd be lined up like you at a stadium. And you know, back then it was, and I'm sure probably when the pros get together and do it, it's the same. If you lose, you might as well go home because you ain't getting back on the court.
Nah, so
it was that thick,
right?
You know, so you had to work to stay on the court. It was balls, and a lot of them weren't cats that nobody was calling their name except for the hood people, because the hood people knew who they were. Right. Those were the legends in the neighborhoods. Morgan Park, man, I would go out to Ada Park and hoop out there, you know, and it was cats out there that could ball for real. You know, that's where I wound up tearing up my knee in Ada Park and out in Morgan Park. But soon as my knee healed, I went right back out there and I started balling out there, because I was determined I was not going to be living in no fear. I'm going to knock this out right now and just move on. You know?
Gotcha. No, man, thank you for that. Because like I said, you helped my childhood. Just like I said, man, you was cold, bro. You was cold.
Man, it was I'm going to lie to you. It was a joy. I mean, aside from my basketball camp and being there with the kids, I think one of the most powerful things that happened to me happened in the summer league, because you got to see real people. You know, when you play in the NBA back then, you could find a speck or two in the stadiums, but most of the people were white. When you went to the Pro-Am,
because they could afford it.
Yeah, you go to Pro-Am, you can't find a white person hardly. It was all
First of all, they're not coming to Foster Park.
No, they're not.
They ain't doing that.
No,
I know that first and foremost. They're not coming to Foster Park.
But one of the other great things about the Pro-Am was young cats, like I said, at 16, 17, I was playing against pros. In fact, I sent Dave Corzine sent him home from the Pro-Am, because
went to DePaul, Dave Corzine.
When I was still in high school, I dropped about 60 points on him. He didn't show up no more. But I was young, and you know, when you're young, you just doing stuff. I like Dave, so this wasn't a negative thing. His agent took him out of the Pro-Am after that. But that was the beauty of the Pro-Am. You got to play against guys who were supposed to be something. You could measure how
you can measure yourself, right?
Really play, you know. And then we traveled all over the place, BBR, in the CYO leagues. We went down to Lower North, Cabrini Green. We would ball against all the best ballers. We would travel to the universities to play, the Illinois States, the Northern Illinois, and play against them. And we were just a bunch of scrappy kids that had gotten together, had a team, and we would go play against them.
Oh, that was
always challenging.
Damn, what was that called? G team? What was that called?
G-Man?
G-Man. The G-Man, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's history right there.
Yeah, it
Everybody
is.
talk about that, and you go to the park and you see an old head, and you be like, "I used to play for the G-Men." Who are the G-Men? Tell me more. Tell me about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Bo Ellis and them boys would talk to us about that stuff. You know,
but there's always been a history connected to basketball that most of us miss, like the original Globetrotters would have been a group called the Wrens.
Okay.
Which is short for Renaissance. And they would travel all over the country and the world, and they would play everybody. They would whoop everybody. But this was the concept and the idea of really being a professional, was learning to play the best talent all the time, you know, and not setting yourself up to be great playing lesser talent. You know,
Right.
mediocrity is not, you know, mediocrity is really what happens when you tell people how great you are instead of letting them choose to see it.
Right.
Exactly.
And let me give kudos to you, Terry, just because watching your career, you've always been a super professional, man. Like, thank you for that. Like, you brought a lot of joy to my childhood. Just like, hey, let me go and see if I can get this little Terry Cummings fadeaway going on, you know, because a lot of people don't notice you was fading away before Mike. I saw you. I saw it. I saw it.
The same fadeaway that Mike did against Craig Elo, Terry has done that a few times.
I saw it with my own two eyes.
Hey, they got them row houses back there.
I was checking them out. I remember with some they left back there.
Yeah, they got a few still back there. Nobody living in them, but they back there.
I see him. That's Candyman right there. But,
oh yeah.
Over in that area, that was where, you know, my first sport was hockey. We used to freeze the ponds. We built our own nets.
Really?
We would carry the nets out of 2x4 and wire. We'd carry them to the white areas and play the white kids on the pond. You know, but I think, you know, that was what helped me agility wise, because I could ice skate during the winter and roller skate during the summer. Because, you know, in Chi, Friday night was skate night.
Yeah.
So we would be up in the DePaul settlement on the north side. They would let us in there and they open it up as a skate rink.
Let me find out you was getting your Stan Makita and Bobby Hull on, man.
I don't know that about that. Stan Makita, Keith Magnuson, the Hall brothers, even though one of them played outside of Chicago, Tony Esposito.
The goalie, Tony Esposito.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, them guys, man, we used to sit up and watch hockey like I later watched basketball.
Mm-hmm.
We would stay up and watch the Blackhawks.
So we had a question.
Yeah, Antonio. Let me go ahead and read that for you. Antonio Controller had a really good question. In your opinion, Terry, do you think Zeke should have been on the Dream Team?
Yeah.
Pretty cut and dry, right?
Yeah, but I think what most people don't get is how heavy the politics are in the NBA, because that top 50 team, you know, all of that stuff, it's a whole lot of suspects on there, you know, that probably shouldn't be on there, you know, but it's the politics of it, man. It's what they say about the victor tells or writes the story.
Yes.
So the NBA is writing the story it wants everybody to remember. And again, that's not a negative thing, because that's what we do. We write it from our own perspective.
Right.
You know, so it's that. But yeah, I think there's a few other people that should have been on it. But again, the politics. But Zeke should have been on there. But Zeke might have hurt himself. And that's probably another reason why his stance is the way it is with Mike. You know, because it's like with our boy Craig Hodges. Craig is my boy, and I did not know how far he had gone with things. But when I played with him in Milwaukee. I remember we got on the bus one day. Now you know them gray folk. We call white folk gray folk.
Okay.
And it's a bus of us on there, and we were driving from I think Milwaukee to Chicago for a preseason game or something. And coach said y'all can bring your videos and stuff. Well, Craig brought one on the Muslim religion, and I think that thing might have played about 2 minutes, and Don Nelson said, "All right, the hell with that, get that S off," you know. But I applaud my boy because Craig Hodge always been committed to what he believed in. I respect that. Again, it gets back to the politics of the NBA. Because Hodge probably could have played another 4 or 5 years, but because he makes an approach, and he does things at the White House, and he does those things. Most people think it's a negative thing to say, and it's not true. But you can be blackballed.
Oh,
we saw
yeah.
it. We saw it with our own eyes. Like, it wasn't bad. The Operation Unite jacket and everything. I might be combining different stances, but he had wore a dashiki or something.
Yeah, he did.
Right,
and he took some paperwork
and some paper to the White House. Right.
Yeah, that he wanted the president to look at,
which was George Bush at the time.
Yeah,
George W, the old man. Yeah.
It don't matter; they the same. It might be a clone.
Oh no!
Yeah, he came on the podcast and he talked about that a bit.
Mm-hmm. Good brother, man. And me and him were tight. We would have some great conversations, him as a Muslim, me as a believer, a Christian. And it wasn't about changing nobody. It was just trying to understand, because that's the difficulty with the NBA and its brand is it's not necessarily trying to understand everything because it don't have to.
Right.
Because at the top of the pinnacle, they paying everybody's bills.
Right.
But I don't. So I said I wasn't going to go down that lane, but
you didn't slip.
I didn't slip. But even then, you're kind of saying that they were kind of telling y'all to shut up and dribble even back then.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
and somebody just came out and said it publicly now, but back then, we talking about true oppression.
I've always told reporters that the NBA is a reflection of society.
Mm-hmm.
Pro sports is a reflection of society. You cannot have pro sports and not have the legalism of civilness that goes on, all this civil stuff that affects us politically. You can't have it. I mean, because historically, way back to the Greek days, the gladiatorial things, they were all specifically, those were athletes. I mean, those were athletes that performed to entertain the people, and they were put in position by the politicians. It was their way of keeping the people out of the politicians' business.
Right.
So they would give them this to go rant and rave and, watch the killings and all that stuff. And they go home drunk and forget that the government is basically stripping you of all your rights. And,
watch the right hand while the left hand does what it does. Yeah.
The shiny object.
And that's crazy because if you really, really think about it, and the 80s was a different time, but the civility part of it was just kind of never really pushed to the forefront until people such as yourself spoke out on it.
Yeah. Well, I've always been not a loud mouth because I always told, I think even when me and Craig would talk, I said, man, it's just you got to find another way to get your message across. So, because you still got to make a living for your family, and you ain't got to be no sellout. You just got to find another way to do it, because I've always been very adamant, and I stood up and stand up for the players on the teams I played for. I will go to the coaches, go to the owners, and, I got plenty of guys jobs because I went and fought for them, And it's the system of the NBA is like the system of America. You can complain all you want to. It ain't gonna get no better than this nowhere else in the world. With all its flaws, it won't be no better than this. And I'm talking about in the world, not the city or the state.
Right.
There
you go again with what you said about being global.
Mm-hmm.
So that message is clearly just going to be spread. And with the inception, going back to the 80s again, with the inception of that original structure of the players union, like that equity of voice didn't come out till then. And then you had how many people that just like, not just for the money, but just for like, dude, like free agency. Like, you're not going to trade me like I'm just some commodity on the stock market.
Yeah.
Like, I need to have say-so in this.
Well, as a person, I'm just putting my finger up. As a person who was on his way to or from church and found out while I was on my way to and from church, I had been traded from Milwaukee to San Antonio. When people argue about the LeBron and the Miami connection and the way these players are coming together, I argue another point. I said I've been on the other side where I wasn't given a say so, and I had to move my whole family more than once. And if I had known I could do that, I probably would not have stayed in San Antonio or Milwaukee as long as I did. I played 6 years in both places. I would have chosen a team to play with. I would have chosen a team with a center, you know. And so what they did was take advantage of what was, you know, things that were mishaps and mistakes by us old heads who went before them, and they learned from it. The problem with it is I think they've gone too far now because cats don't compete. They all
so now that's a whole nother story.
Yeah,
I feel the competition. Like, I didn't want to join you. Hell, I wanted to beat you.
Yeah, but not
because I have my personal measuring stick that I need.
But it's not like that now.
No,
they too damn buddy for my ass. I don't like that shit.
Yeah.
Well, to me, they're turning
the team now.
But the NBA to me is turning into like a glorified AAU tournament. And I don't like that because I mean, just full transparency, Terry, just getting to know me. I'm not a fan of fugazi basketball. I believe you need to earn it. I call it fugazi because that's what AAU is. Let me get a bunch of kids to pay to be on this team so I can give the star players I want free run.
Yeah.
And that's a travesty when you got really, really good kids who can actually play and produce if given the chance. But now you want to just showcase a bunch of one-on-one talent. Then they get to the NBA and wonder why they fizzle out or don't make it.
But it was like that, JB, even when I was coming up, it just wasn't an AAU. You know, coaches had their favorites. And when I came in on the set, I was what they called a blue chip because I blossomed late. But all the other guys, the Mark Aguirres, the Teddy Grubbs, the Doc Rivers, the Isaiahs, they had been to all these camps, you know, BC, and those camps that you know, back then that weighed talent and measured stuff. And I hadn't been in any of that. I didn't go to none of that stuff. So when I got to playing in the Pro-Am and playing in things, the All-Star games as a senior, you know, jokers was talking about me like I was a scrub, you know, and yeah, they were talking crazy to me. He all right, but Teddy Grubbs, and Teddy was a bad boy. Don't get me wrong. He was my roommate my freshman year.
Oh, and Teddy was cold. That was back in the Sonny Vaccaro days, remember?
Yeah. But and the thing is, it's like I often tell people, you know, to get past all that stuff, I had to get past all that stuff. I had to remind myself every day who I was, and these people didn't know me. So a lot of times the first time people ever saw me was in the Pro-Am. You know, before
but you was in the paper, Terry, because I remember reading it.
Yeah, I got the articles to prove it, but I don't think they believe, because I remember reading about Mark before. I never met him till I was going to DePaul.
Coming out of Westinghouse, right?
Yeah. And then them jokers was they were having 100+ point games in high school.
Right.
That was unheard of. It was unheard of. They were having it every game.
32-minute games, they busted 100.
They was putting up 100 on the board, and I was like, this can't be real. This joker scored 40, and then he had Eddie Johnson on that team too.
I forgot about Eddie Johnson. Yes.
Eddie Johnson was a baller. That joker could score. His years in the league.
He was a sniper too.
Yeah. Yeah, he had a game. I mean, it's like when you think about, I think one of the true travesties of being good at anything is that you're only good at it while you're good at it. And when you're no longer good at it, people forget how good you were at it. You know, and you can't go back. You can't like dress up and come back now and play in this era. That's why dinosaurs don't exist. It's over with. You have a time and a season, and you have to, kind of learn to revel in the fact that you played at a time, speaking of myself, when the best players played the game. I played
Actually
the best
played.
players
I see what you did there.
of all time. It wasn't one or two people. I mean, I don't like that the focus is always on a Michael or Bird or a Magic. Them jokers, you can never measure greatness by mediocrity. Greatness has to be measured by greatness.
Greatness.
So
Iron
that
sharpens
means that
iron.
the players
Absolutely.
you played against and the teams you played against had to be equal to you. So you can't call Michael Jordan the greatest player to ever play the game if he didn't play with the greatest players that ever played.
Facts. You know what? We had a person from the comment section that had a great question that they really want to ask you. I think you really like this question right here. Go ahead and put it back up for us, T. Said just for a fun hypothetical, a little old school 5-on-5, West Side versus the South Side. You got center Russell Cross versus Ingram Winters. Yeah, power forward Teddy Grubbs versus yourself. Small forward, we got Mark McGuire versus Benny Wilson. Shooting guard Ronnie Fields versus Jamie Brandon. Point guard Zeke versus Mo Cheeks. Want to know what you think about that, Terry?
Man, it'll be what in baseball they call a Donnybrook. In baseball, a Donnybrook is when the game is like uneven and it's largely out. One team is outscored a team. I take that back because with ballers from Chi, we have too much pride to let somebody blow us out consistently. I think it would be. It would be one of those things that if the only way you could do that now is the PlayStation games.
Oh, to simulate it.
Yeah. The only way you can do it. To me, that ends the argument because when people start talking about, were the players better in the stage of your life or over here, and I tell them it was just two different generations of ballers, and the other thing is my generation were grown men. These ain't grown men. These are little boys growing. They're young men growing into manhood.
Yes.
And it's a big difference, when you here to work to take care of your family, not just your wife or your girl and your kids, but your mama and your daddy and your brothers and your sisters and your community. You represent all of them. It take a man to realize that you don't stand here by yourself or for yourself. You stand for everybody who helped you get here, whether you like it or not, the way they help, because to me, the negativity helped me too.
I
got to accept the fact that that's the truth.
Amen.
Well, I want to say this because hypothetically, as you see, that's West Side versus South Side.
Yeah.
But three people in those matches, you all actually did compete because you were on the team with Mark McGuire and Teddy Grubbs in practice. So you all, that kind of really happened.
Teddy was tough, man, because it wasn't just that he was.
Well, Teddy took a back seat because Teddy was a high school All-American. Like Teddy was.
Yeah, I wasn't an All-American until I got to college, my junior year. I was honorable mention, but like I said, I didn't go to all those camps. When I first saw Teddy play, I was like, golly, and then when I came there, the reason why I got to play is because I accept a lesser position and I played center. They needed a center. They needed somebody, so, and then I was willing because in high school, when I finally came 6'4", 6'6", my sophomore year, the coach wouldn't let me play because he had juniors and seniors that he'd been grooming for 3 or 4 years. And he told me, he said, I don't care what you do, you ain't playing in front of these juniors and seniors. And so I pouted.
Coach Meyer told you that.
Coach Howard.
Coach Howard
at Carver.
Carver.
Yeah. But that prepared me for when I got to Ray Meyer and them, and they told me this is Mark's team. I was like, cool. I done this before. I said, just give me a job, give me a uniform, and tell me what you want me to do. And that's what I would do. I'd break my butt in practice, get in the games. I'd outrun, I'd defend. They ain't run no plays for me. I averaged 14, 16 points off of rebounds and fighting and grappling under the rim.
Heart, hustle, and muscle.
Yeah, that's good.
It is. There it is.
We're gonna put that on the Jackass too. That's good.
That's kind of crazy too, because like remember Teddy came from King. Teddy was out that factory with Sonny. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, Sonny, if you don't know, Sonny is running Atlantic Cox. Like that was a factory too. And I see what Curtis Clay did there, adding Jamie Brandon, another King product who was just like super cold, super, just went to LSU, I believe. And then, but man, just the like we don't have, and then just looking at those names again, Terry, which is why I say I'm not dissing New York, I'm not dissing Florida, I'm not dissing LA. Chicago got the best baller. It's like, look at it.
It's different love, man. It really different. Is. And you could tell, to me, the most distinctive, closest thing to a Chicago player is a New York player. Because we got all of this, we had all this before, even when Tim was just a little kid, the crossover was something we were working with, and, in the park districts and stuff, and they didn't call it a crossover. They just said he just got shook.
Right.
Look,
I ain't even gonna lie. Before the killer crossover, Tim Hardaway, I remember watching Bad Bulls games. Quentin Daly was doing that movie.
Yeah. Just shake, you shake a guy real quick just to get to your strong hand, or what I call, if you really work on your game, no matter what court you're on, it has the same thing, and it's called your sweet spots.
Right.
So you get to your sweet spots, no one can defend you there, no matter how good a defender they are, because you work too hard to get to it. You know what happens when you get there, and you don't, as long as you don't get caught up emotionally. Like in 18 years of playing in the league, I could probably count the number of times I went through a bad season or a bad time where I had bad games, because it would only take me to have one bad game for me to figure out how to fix it.
Okay.
And fixing it meant sometimes that I couldn't rely on my offense, that I had to rebound, I had to defend, I had to lead, I had to scrap on the boards, I had to outrun people, get easy baskets, because, the offense was jacked up.
Well, that's just being a complete player. That's being a complete, because if your A game is not on, you got to rely on other facets of your game. Like, let me go hard on the defensive side. Let me get these.
Let me make a living over there. You ain't got to stay over there all for the rest of your season, but you put in the work, you get all the fruit out of it. And it's like sometimes watching these cats, they depend so much on their ability to dunk and cross over that they forget the real important parts of the game, being able to set up. Like I played in Milwaukee with Don Nelson. There was a white cat there named Mike Dunleavy, who you probably know, he coached and played.
And Mike Dunleavy Sr. Yeah.
Well, see, now Mike Dunleavy was a small, like he would have been a 2-guard shooter. He could fill it up. But one of the great things that he did, and Coach Nelson always made sure we understood. He said the most selfish thing you can do, and at the same time, the most profitable thing for the team, is to set a pick on somebody. Because the moment you set a pick, you free the man you set the pick on, but you also free yourself. Because most defenders are not prepared to defend a real pick and roll or a real pick. So if you pick somebody hard and they get stuck on the pick, more often than not, they still chasing the man, your man. And then now the guy who's in the pick is chasing them too. So you got two people chasing the guy that got picked, and you wide open.
Open up to the basket.
Yeah. And it's like things you learn along the way that you don't see. Like, I don't understand how they can do draw and kick in the NBA with most of these teams. Like, if you're not going to pick me.
They don't set picks no more. They kind of.
Yeah. But if you're not going to pick me, the boy, what's his name, in Denver, he ain't getting the ball.
Oh, Joker.
Yeah, you got to pick me. You got to put some wood on me. Because that's what I'm watching the games. I was like, these jokers ain't setting picks. And how is he getting open like that if you ain't setting the pick? It's because they so concerned with him, they're not really playing him. Right. They ain't even playing a space. When we played Detroit, we had to play the pick and roll about 8 different ways. everybody had to know on our side how we were playing the pick and roll, depending on whether it was Joe Dumars or Isaiah, whether it was at the top of the free throw line or on the side, on the wings, or if it was lower. We had to play all those pick and rolls different. That's the cerebralness I was talking about. And you could tell that these coaches throw all that out with these players because they don't think they're intelligent enough.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta drive them. You gotta make it worthwhile to pick that book up, because them books was about this thick. See that? Defense, offense, zones, everything. It was just ours. That didn't have nothing to do with the opposing team when we played against them. It was a whole film session, plays that were written out. You had to know everybody's position, the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You had to be able to play them if it was necessary. Mm-hmm. And I know they don't do that with these young kids because they don't believe they can stick to it, but they can. You just got to give them the time to gain that traction because they ain't being taught. They're not being taught in high school. They ain't being taught in college. And then they come to the pro level, which is just freelance. Because I think my first 2 years in the league, I just played off talent. I didn't know what I was doing until Don Nelson got a hold of me and he taught me the NBA game. He taught me how to prepare for it and what to look for. He taught me a discipline I didn't have in with the Clippers or in college.
Who was that coach? I don't remember. Who was that coach in San Diego?
My first year was Paul Silas.
Oh, Big Paul Silas.
Mm-hmm. My first year was Paul Silas, and then second year was Jim Lynam. He was the coach at St. Joe. They were that team that beat us in the tournament.
Okay.
Yeah, the one where Skip missed the free throws.
He missed
the guy wound up with the ball on the wing. All of us rushed toward him, and it's a guy left open under the basket, and that's the game winner.
Damn.
But again, because I don't like when people put that thing on Skip like it was his fault. We shouldn't have been in that position because the reason we lost when we would get to the tournament is we were a pro team playing with some college kids.
And Skip was a hell of a free throw shooter too.
But he was the best. He was the best on our team.
Yeah.
I look at it differently because
he went to the Knicks for a little bit, right?
Clyde did. I think
Clyde Bradshaw. I thought Skip Dillard had like
he might have.
Yeah, I thought he went to the Knicks for a little bit.
But playing with them, the Westinghouse boys, they let you know when they came in, we here to go to the NBA. That's all. Again, I didn't know I could play college ball, and I never dreamed of playing in the NBA. It was not my dream. It was my brother Lee. My brother Lee was a baller, and I actually feel like in many ways I lived his dream because I just wanted to be like him. I took all the pain of getting beat up, talked that while he's, just stroking jumper after jumper and the crowds together and he's embarrassing you. And they gave me a chip, man. By the time I got to high school and was playing and was the man in college, man, I just, between that and Dad being an alcoholic and having to live through all that stuff as a teenager, I just didn't embarrass easily. I had been through stuff.
I would say you was already built. So
yeah.
So when you played Westinghouse, did you play with Hersey Hawkins? Or
no, I didn't play. I don't think we ever played them, but I played with
Hersey on Seattle.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, and Hersey from Chicago too. He went to Bradley, but Terry and them played in that the year after the Bulls beat the Sonics.
Yeah, they brought me in. Me in
from San Antonio. No, from Milwaukee, because you went back to Milwaukee. You and Big Dog, remember? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you and Big Dog.
Yeah, got into it with him.
I'll tell you one thing. I got a game that you can play. And we're going to see how good you are. We're going to see how Chicago you are.
Yes. Let's get into it.
Go ahead, T. I mean, this T game right here. We know we're going to catch you on for quite a time, but for quite some time. But we got to get this game in before we let you go. So go ahead, T. This your thing.
Oh, this is a game we play with everyone that's from Chicago. I asked 10 questions, 10 Chicago-based questions, and if you get more than half of them right, yeah, you from the crib. You from the crib. If you do not get more than half of them right, you might be from Deerfield or like South Holland or something. Yeah, Schaumburg, something like that. You ain't from Chicago, but so I'm gonna give you a few alley-oops though. Some of these questions are super, super duper easy.
All right, roll with it.
So you're gonna get 10 seconds to answer each question. So during those 10 seconds, you'll hear this. You'll hear that. When you're ready to answer the question, even if it's before 10 questions, you can go ahead and do that. But after 10 seconds, we need your answer. All right. So,
and if you lose, you hear this.
All right, so here we go. First question. Back in the day, when you wanted some soul food, you go to 45th to what restaurant?
Gladys?
There it is.
Yeah, that was the joint. I broke Southern people into that. They was like, golly. They get all that Southern food down in the South, and they come and hit Gladys and be like, this the joint right here.
Yeah.
Unknown Jim.
Yep. All right, so number 2. It's kind of an alley-oop for you. So what is Chicago's oldest blues club located on North Halsted?
I don't know the name of it, but I know the club. Give me the all. I can't think of the name of it, but I know the club.
I give you a hint. It's two words, and the first one start with a K.
Drawing a blank, and I should know it.
JB?
Is it Kingston Mines?
Man, you know everything. Jesus. Yes, that's what it is. So, JB, play the sound, please.
Oh, no, I don't want to do Terry like that, but
you gotta play the sound, man.
It could be the gong, man. That's good.
So you are 1 for 2. Not bad. You 50% right now.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go to the third. This is kind of an alley-oop too. So where was Jewtown?
Well, roll, bro.
Okay. All right. Roosevelt Maxwell.
What you know about that?
Man, I know about Jewtown. I was little, but I still remember.
And that used to
before UIC took over, Jewtown was popping.
Yeah, it was. You go down there and negotiate.
Right.
Exactly.
It was about you could buy stuff and negotiate the price.
Clothes, jewelry. They used to say jewel down.
Yeah. They didn't like that, but that was real.
And you can do it now on 63rd Street by Kennedy King. You can still do that. Go in there and try to negotiate with the Asians.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Good luck.
It was in the brothers, ain't it?
Right.
No.
No, you're American. You have American money.
Mm-hmm.
2 for 3.
So you are 2 for 3. Good percentage. Good percentage. So we're going to go on to number 4, which is not so much of an alley-oop. So when you want to go shopping, clothes shopping, what department store on State Street back in the day did you go to, but it's defunct now?
Marshallville.
It is. Didn't even need the music. Didn't even need the music. Okay.
Yeah, I was doing that shopping even when I was in pro, still going back to Marshallville.
Hey, yeah, I understand it.
Mhm.
So you are 4 for 5. Wait, is it 3 for 4?
3 for 4.
I'll take whatever you give me, T. I'm good. I'm rolling with you, bro.
All right.
I'm with you when you're right.
Okay. All right. Now, this one isn't so much of an alley-oop. But the last one, I said the same thing, and it kind of was. But let's see. Number 5. Who dies at the end of Cooley High?
Come on, man.
My man, God, dude.
Phone a friend, Terry. Phone a friend. Phone a friend. I got you.
No, I know who it is. I can't. Shoot. Golly, that's like my love. That's my love right there.
Right underneath the L track. You know who it
Yeah,
is.
well, right where I grew up over there. Gosh, I know. But I'm drawing my blank right here. I ain't watched that movie in so long.
Give it to him, JB.
Cochise.
Yeah.
Wait, who had a basketball scholarship on the way?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I know the movie, and I knew that too. I probably knew all them characters. What was my man named the poet, the writer?
Preach.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because they got the baseball field over there now. You know?
It's what's it called? In West Village, right? Little Village. In Little Village, in that area.
Yeah, right there. Golly, Coach Cheeks, man. I can't believe I couldn't remember his name, but I knew who he was.
Yeah, I was about to say he played Michael Jackson's daddy in them Jackson's American Dream.
You know too much, bro. That's too much.
You know.
If you ever go on a game show, call me. I got you.
That's my lifeline.
So you are 3-5 right now. Not bad. Not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad.
That's 60%, man.
Yeah, it's still 60. Sure.
Yeah, it is. It is. But if you had a quiz in school and you got a 3 for 5, I at least would get in trouble for that.
But it ain't over yet. You said 10 questions.
You're right. It's not over yet. So let's go on to the next question, which he kind of addressed already. So it's probably nothing for him. Who was the white guy that played at DePaul in your era that went on eventually to play for the Bulls?
Oh, he name's already.
White guy? Oh, Dave Corzine. I'm sorry.
Well, I say you said it already, right?
Is that white guy?
Well, you know, I always Dave was brother cover.
He had a juice fro.
He had a fro. He had a fro.
Curled up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he had that little thing we got, you know, when we talk, you know, real smooth and stuff.
But not a bad player either. Dave Corzine wasn't no bum.
No, he wasn't. He was a really good offensive player, good defender, and a really good passer.
Mm-hmm.
So you are 4 for 6 right now.
No, I ain't.
You're not? You're not 4 for 6?
You 4 for 6.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought that's what it was.
That's what it is.
But once we get to 10, maybe you'll be at a better percentage. but we're gonna go to number 7, which is probably a layup. What club was the premier club back in your day on Michigan Avenue?
I didn't go to clubs.
I was about to say that's a hard question considering he just told me he didn't go till 35.
Oh, well then he may not would know this. A lot of his people went probably though.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Cotton Club, yeah, on Michigan.
Yeah.
And JB, I'm sure your mom probably went too.
My mom won the club.
Your mom won the club. Ask her.
But it's only but when you said State Street, I'm sorry, Michigan, it's only because remember Excalibur, Limelight, and all that. That wasn't on Michigan.
But see, now my partners, they went to them
club.
Right. That's what I said. The key was when you said Michigan.
Yeah, Excalibur wasn't a premier club for black folk. No
right.
way.
Right. That's why I said when you said Michigan, it can only be the Cotton Club.
Talking about Teo now? Ain't that what it's called?
I don't know what it's called now.
No,
it's called Not For Us. That's what it's called. Not For Us.
You know they take it back ever so often. Don't hold it to them. They're gonna give it back eventually.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
History.
All right, so
trust me.
So number 8, which might be a layup, may not be. Who is the pastor of Trinity Baptist Church in Chicago?
Ooh.
Damn, where's my music?
Trinity Baptist Church. Was that the one on 111?
It's on 95th.
95th. Trinity United.
I know. I preached that.
Yeah.
I preached that.
I know. I don't know.
I know his first name. I can't remember his last name.
I'm rolling with the jackass. That's what I'm gonna roll with.
Lightning is gonna strike in Foul Mouth's house in about 5 minutes.
It's been good. It's been good.
Hey T, I'm gonna help Terry out. I can't remember his last name, but his first name is Otis, and he's a third.
And he's a Morehouse man. Don't forget that part.
Man, I don't know who that is.
He said, "Oh, his name is Otis."
Yeah.
For the 5 Heartbeats.
No, man.
That was the Temptations. Ain't nobody come to see you, Otis.
Oh yeah, that's right. The Temptations. Damn, I messed that up.
But no, that's for real. His first name is Otis. He's a third. He ran track at one.
Somebody come see you, Otis.
So back in your day, it was Jeremiah Wright.
Right.
But now it's Otis Moss.
Yeah, I don't know. You learn this about me. Like I don't hang with folks, so I don't walk. I don't roll. And, like I do what I do because I'm called to do it. I work with other people and to get things done. But like I travel all over the world.
Kind of like you meet them in passing and keep going.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I mean, a lot of times, aside from God, you don't have a whole bunch in common with a lot of people. Right. It ain't negative; it's just real talk,
That's when you really get to know somebody, you realize how little you have in common.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Come on, let's get to 50, bro.
Okay. Well, what do we have?
It's the least we could do.
We have 5 for 8.
5 for 8.
5 for 8. Okay, so the next question, not a layup. I can tell you that now, not a layup, but it's a recycled question. Give me the 3 names of White Sox Park.
Misty Park. What? Was it one just called White Sox Park?
No, it is Comiskey.
Mm-hmm.
We called it on the street White Sox Park, but it was never ever called White Sox Park.
Ain't that a mess?
It is.
It was also the name of an old cell phone company.
Yep.
Well, man, it's not AT&T. It was
US.
Okay.
U.S. Cellular.
Yeah. And then
And now it's called guaranteed rate.
well, I wouldn't have figured that out.
The mortgage company.
I done drove past it in the last few months quite a few times. It's got to be right up on it, but I ain't.
But you know what we still call it?
Comiskey Park. I remember
Comiskey
that.
Park. Or White Sox Park. That's it. That should be. That's like calling Willis. Not calling the Sears Tower. I'm never calling it Willis Tower. It's the Sears Tower. That's what it is.
Yeah, it is. It always will be. In fact, they didn't tear it down, so it's still on it.
Yep. Still the Sears Tower. Don't nobody say Willis.
Ain't gonna say it.
I don't know what you're talking about, Willis.
That part.
That one there.
So, Apostle, you are 5 for 9. So, technically, we can't say you not from Chicago now because you got at least half right. But we're not going to say you definitely from Chicago because you only got half right. So, we're going to give you the last one. Where might the Bears, the Chicago Bears, where might they move?
I don't know. I know they moved from Soldier Field. Where did I don't know the answer to that because I follow the Bears. You know, I watch the games, but I don't get caught up in them politics.
That's one sort of like a trick question.
But see, that really ain't a Chicago question.
That is.
Because the thing is, they might move to 5 different damn places. You got Aurora, Joliet,
Joliet,
Naperville,
Schaumburg, like.
Yeah, they're not gonna go to Joliet though.
No, they're definitely not.
There's a big jail there.
Right.
They don't want that to be the remembrance.
And it's still it's still in service too.
Yeah, it is. That joker open for all the
Aurora.
So I say give a different question, T, because that's kind of the answer is Arlington Heights, but that ain't even solidified.
Well, I think that's probably more accurate too, because I don't think that they don't tend to move that stuff. I mean, the Bulls in the Chicago Stadium is a little different because it was b-ball, but they don't tend to move like baseball and football, generally speaking, into the hood.
They don't.
Though the original White Sox Park would have been considered a hood, though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But they just moved across the street.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that you are from Chicago because you went 5 for 10, so you got half of them right.
Yeah.
But don't you got 2 bonus questions? Food related?
Oh, yeah, of course. How could I forget? So, bonus question. First bonus question. Who has the best fried chicken in Chicago?
Well, they say Harold's.
Uncle
Remus got some good chicken. Uncle Remus, you familiar with them?
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's that West Side Lake right there.
But you said the answer already.
Yeah.
Even though it's subjective.
It really is.
Yeah.
I got one for you while you're giving bonus questions. What's your favorite, if you're a sub person, favorite sub sandwich place in Chi?
Mr. Submarine got the best subs.
I'd say it's the oldest, 2 for 5 back in the day.
Man, that thing there is the joint, man. I every time I go to Chicago, I go get that. I might have made my family fall in love with Mr. Submarine. They be like, "Where you get this from?" I'll be like, just eat it.
You get the cold cut trio, or you get the sweet steak?
No, I like the actual sub. They got
the regular sub,
yeah, with the meat and the lettuce and the onions and stuff, man. When I was a kid, I used to walk down Western to the one that was on Western on the south side.
Yep, right there, right there by Beverly.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah, I would walk over there, man.
It's still there.
All the way home to Rose.
I don't live up there no more.
Yeah, it's still there.
Yeah,
that's my favorite. And I thought you were gonna get a rib question in there, but ribs is more difficult in Chicago. because one of the best rib places.
It's
So
gone.
it wasn't a true Carson's, because back in the day,
Carson's downtown. Carson's was decent. Yes.
Yeah, because they were worth going to sit down. I mean, they had a great sauce. The meat was real tender, and they had all them sides before.
The old gratin potatoes, the corn,
and them what they call them fries, them long fries.
Mm-hmm. Steak fries.
Steak fries. Yeah. So
Carson's was on point.
It was. Yeah, it was.
Then you go down the street and go to Ed the Beverage and get cussed out. And get cussed out.
I never thought Carson's was good, but the rib joint on 87, it's not there now. But the rib joint was really good. It's on 80. It was on 87th and Vernon.
On the right side if you're coming from the city.
Yeah.
Well, no, but if you go south, now Carson's was a sit-down restaurant. You go
right
south
in the city,
pick up and go. You got to go to Limbs. You got to hit Limbs.
Oh yeah, of course.
And not the new joint. I'm talking about the original was on 59th and State. The original Limbs. You got to go there. But it's not there no more. It's on 75th and State now.
So the second bonus question: when you are going for pizza, where you going?
Gonna get that deep dish pizza down there. Golly, I be telling everybody about this. I send my people to get this. Just having a brain fart, man.
Giordano's.
There were Giordano's, but the golly, the one that was before Giordano's.
You talking about Connie's?
No, it's
Gino's.
Gino's. Yeah, that's what I.
Gino's.
You talking about Gino's
East? That's what I was. Because to me, it's the same. They selling the same pizza, just under a different name. But Gino's East is what we did high school graduations. We went down there and we would hang out down there. And now they still have one that's down like Rush Street.
Yeah, it's right down the street from me. I'll be going down there sometime. Yeah. They be packed as hell too.
Yeah, a little dark dungeon looking place.
Yeah.
Hey, the best thing they could have done was came up with the frozen joint because I got them in the freezer now.
Yeah, it's right by Northwestern Hospital.
Yeah.
So you out there, you in Northwestern Hospital, you can go get you some Jell-O and then go get you some pizza.
So, Apostle, before we let you go, we had a question in the chat. Damon wanted to know who were your closest teammates on the Clippers, Bucks, and the Spurs?
With the Clippers, it was Hodge and I want to say Derek Smith. I played with Derek Smith from Louisville. Big hands. Y'all remember him?
I vaguely remember the name. He's a guard. Was he a guard?
He played that 2, 3, 4 kind of spot. It was a leaper, big, huge hands. Wound up dying on a boat from seasickness. Some pill or something they gave him for it. He had an allergic reaction, but he was a good guy. So it was him and Hodge with the Clippers. Milwaukee was Paul Pressey. Everybody on the Buck team was tight. I mean, we did family stuff together with everybody. And then the guys all hung out. That's the only team in the league other than the Spurs where we hung out like that. We had we were real tight like that. Mm-hmm. And then was it the Spurs?
I think he did say the Spurs, yeah.
Yeah, so they brought me in the same time. They drafted David Robinson and Sean Elliott. So those cats was under my wings for about 6 years.
Didn't you sing at Sean Elliott's wedding or something like that?
I married him. I performed the ceremony.
Oh, yeah.
You performed the ceremony, right.
That's what it was, okay.
Because you were ordained way before when you first came in, right?
Yeah, I was in high school. I got ordained at 17.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that is really interesting. Okay, all right.
It is looking back at it. Do you know how much fun I could have had if I'd have just stayed just common? Man, I went through some periods in my life, man, where I was just like, all the women was calling me the man's man, and they would bring me to their nephews and their fiancés and their husbands and have me sit down with them and talk with them and pray with them and give some direction to them. I think by the time I was 25 or 26, I decided I didn't want to be that Terry no more. You know, I was just thinking, man, it's just not fair. But then, you know, when you called to something, it's not going to be fair. There are going to be plenty of times and seasons where you're going to just have to endure it until you can get to the place where you can accept it, you know. And it took me a little while, but I got there. But that doggone Terry business, that man's man, that's a whole lot of weight to have on anybody, because there's a lot of things you tell yourself you can't do because so many people are watching you.
Yeah.
Have expectations that are not real. And then you get King David wrote in one of his Psalms that the Lord has delivered me from the strivings of men. And it literally means that, you know, and I think that this is a point for all of us, that there's a point in your life where you need to be delivered from what people think about you, you know, and until you do, you're bound to them. You know, it's almost like being in chains around some people, but, you know, I'm not bound by it. I just feel like, you know, you live your life, you're accountable to God and God only. Everything else will take care of itself.
Yes, sir.
Chains of judgment is coming.
Amen. Apostle, we certainly appreciate you taking the time.
Yes, sir, brother.
Drop these gems and give us a little history lesson.
Where can people find you? Where can people find you? Or what do you have coming up? Like, please promote yourself.
I just finished a movie because, you know, my first couple movies, one was called Shoutouts. I was a bodyguard, and then I did a movie called Love and Basketball where I played the bartender.
You were the bartender with Quincy and
yeah.
You ran the bar. It was your bar. Yeah.
And then I just finished a film that was my most major role with a group out of Nigeria called Double Decoy. And it was like, for me, was real exhilarating because I love acting, because you can be somebody else. You don't have to be yourself.
Hey, I love it too, brother.
Yeah, it's a fun thing.
Yeah.
And I've been writing that screenplay since I was in my early 20s. So I have a real natural affinity for acting and writing and creative stuff. But we can be reached at the ministry stuff is I gotta think about that too. I have Terry Cummings Publishing.com. It's the publishing company arm, Cummings Entertainment Group .com. And then always for email, I kept my old AOL one. I got it.
Yeah, I was gonna clown you for that, man, but
no, but it worked. Ain't hardly nobody on AOL. They Gmail. AOL work like a charm right now.
My mama still got AOL.
Yeah, I had that since the 80s, man.
You got mail.
Terry Cummings 9 at AOL.com. You can leave me a message there. Man, it's a whole bunch of ways to do it, and check out the music is on iTunes.
Definitely.
Everywhere you can buy Best Buy, all the digital platforms.
Yep.
And the music I do is couples, relational music. It ain't gospel. Some of it is, but most of it is written for people who are serious about being in relationships, you know. So it's R&B in context.
Good to have.
Mm-hmm.
I listened to each one today. I'm not gonna lie and say I already knew, but I listened to each one today. So, and I like them. I like that. That Mark. I think it's
Marvin's God.
Yeah, that I like that.
You shoot me a link. I'll shoot you the video to that. We shot a video to that. That's really nice.
I was looking for it on YouTube. It's not on there, huh?
Yeah, it's on there. It should be right up. It's either under my name or it's under Marvin's Vibe.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna look for that. I'm looking for that because I like that song.
Man, gotta get up on that music. And Terry, thank you so much for bringing one of my idols, allowing me to meet one of my idols in the basketball.
Oh, man, I appreciate y'all.
Thank you more than you could absolutely know, man. Like, I was like, man, Terry Cummings, that's my guy. Like, thank you.
No, I appreciate it. I really do. I don't take stuff for granted, man. I know everything that happens because God's timing is for it. So I appreciate being here with y'all, man. I really do.
And get this one, Apostle. We finally got you. Finally.
Yeah.
See what I did there? He has a song called
Yeah,
Finally.
I told you I'm with you when you write now.
I'm with you when you write.
Now that's some old school, some old dude stuff. You know, that's like, watch it now. You know, it's like that. Yeah, that's like that. I'm with you when you write, bro. But I appreciate y'all, man. I appreciate what y'all
appreciate you, brother.
Because I think a lot of what you all do, you know, keeps people aware. And that to me is really one of the most important things for us people of color right now is that we not only, you know, go with flows, but we watch and pray. We keep ourselves focused on what's next so we can help our people get to where they need to be. You know, ain't nobody fighting for us but us.
Right.
Absolutely.
Got that right. Got that right.
And we'd love to have you back when you have time too.
Yes.
Closer to when the season is going
Let
on.
me know.
Love to pick your brain about why these Bulls ain't doing what they're supposed to do.
Well, I figure by then y'all have figured out why. Probably have to fire a few people and bring in some people.
Yeah, I already gone and figured out why. They just need to go ahead and give me the GM
Look,
job.
it's not a secret, but you know, we love your professional insight. But thank you so much.
Ain't no problem, man. Y'all have a good evening, man. Appreciate it.
You too, brother.
You too.
Say a prayer for me. I need it.
I got you, man. Y'all
All
take
right, Apostle. Thank you.
All right, brother.
All right.
Oh shit, my battery's about to die. Let me charge myself up. Hold on. Y'all continue.
God. Awesome time, man. Awesome conversation. He's so wise. He's so wise, baby.
True sage, man. Like,
he just knows a lot of stuff. And he's just so calm and cool and laid back. Doesn't get super excited and doesn't, you know, he just doesn't ramble, run off at the mouth. He just spits out knowledge, gems.
And think about it like this. When you have somebody that willing to be open, that transparent, that down to earth, man, that's great insight. Like this is honestly, this is one of already has catapulted to one of my favorite interviews. Already. At the forefront.
Shut up, Grogu. Shut up.
You telling Grogu to shut up? Wait a minute,
no,
man. He been mean to Grogu all damn day, man.
Demond, man, thank you, man. Like, man, we're glad we was able to make your day because, like I said, hey, Terry was one of our, like, for those that don't know, you go back and watch some footage, man, Terry Cummings was
that. He said he was that dude. He wasn't lying. He
wasn't lying.
He was a problem. He was that dude.
Every time they played the Bulls, it was like, I want us to win, but I'm rooting for him.
I think he dropped off a few Bulls too.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure if it was David Greenwood or not.
You can put him on there.
Orlando
Woolridge. I was gonna say that that year when George Gervin, remember when Mike got hurt and George Gervin was on the team. Locking up what's his name? 6'5" point guard. Reggie Theus on the switch.
Yeah.
Like Terry Cummings was, and you know what? Allow me to say this. I wish I had said it while he was on. Hopefully he's still listening. Super underrated too.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Like for him to only have made 2 All-Stars, 2 All-Pro, 2 All-Star games, a travesty. Like the first person you think of right now when you think of Milwaukee Bucks, probably in recent history, is Giannis. After that, it's Terry Cummings, man.
Remember, he said you can't get blackballed.
Well, it wasn't because of his play.
I'm just saying, you can't get blackballed.
It wasn't because of his play.
He might have gotten barred out of the All-Star sometimes. Yeah, Grogu. Boo.
Could have been, popularity contest, but when I'm talking about straight dog,
Exactly. Because he wasn't that dude. Like he said, he wasn't that dude to say, look at what I did. He was that dude to just let his game talk for him. So, you got these look at me, look what I did, guys. They get an all-star game because they're popular. It's a popularity.
Definitely a popularity contest.
Yeah.
Hey, especially the insight on when he told us, although the conferences were different clearly, but when he told us how to expose Karl Malone, like, come on, man, that's real insight.
Make that dude go left. It's a done deal. It's a done deal. He couldn't go left. But man, let's get into a little bit of football talk. I know that last week we were talking about the running backs.
Yes.
And we were also compiling a list of the top 10 Chicago Bears running backs since 1980.
Yes.
But first, let's dive into these current Bears, although there's not much going on. Like you said last week, it's the dog days of summer, so everybody's at home enjoying their families right now. Camp is coming up soon, though, and so is a family day.
2 weeks, right? 2 weeks?
Yeah, something like that. Yep. And Family Fest is coming up, too. Family Fest is just for show. So don't everybody get all excited. It's just everybody look good in their uniform, no pads on, take pictures, hold babies. That's it. That's it. But it's coming up. I want to say like August 7th, something like that.
I think, I'm about to say it was like the first week of August. I think the second week of August. That would be like a Saturday. Is that a Saturday?
No, I think it's on the. Is it on a Thursday? I think it's on a Thursday.
Is it on Thursday?
No, it's on a Sunday. It's on a Sunday.
Okay, because I was about to say I thought July 31st was a Friday or Saturday, something like that.
Yeah, so it's on a Sunday.
But I would love to go. Just venture out.
Well,
and see.
I'm glad you said that because I got tickets for all of us. Because season ticket holders, they get first dibs. So they haven't told me if I have the tickets yet, but they're giving us free dibs. So I put in for like 4 tickets, so all of us could go. So the running back room for the Chicago Bears, I'm excited to see this guy Roschon Johnson, because I'll admit I never really watched him at what was Texas. I never really saw him in Texas, but I'm excited to see him now. I'm hearing a lot of good things about this cat.
Nothing he can't do.
And I'm also hearing that like he is they were saying that he's kind of a mix between David Montgomery and, did I hear Eric Dickerson? I'm not sure if that's what I heard or not. But I heard that he's doing a lot of good things. He was doing a lot of good things when they were in rookie camp. So I'm excited to see this dude. What y'all think?
Well, it's hard to judge running backs until they got the pads on.
True, because they're not really at the speed they would be at without the pads and then absorbing those hits. Mm-hmm. It's going to be interesting to see how can they absorb these hits and still, be as efficient as we need them to be in order for us to get a better record than what we have had.
Well, here's the thing, fellas. If you look at what Luke Getsy said about, really having that 65, 35, 60, 40 run to pass ratio, running his offense, you have a 3-headed monster. But Khalil Herbert does the running back portion well, but he doesn't do the passing, the pass blocking, the receiving, route running. He doesn't do that portion necessarily well. Then you look at somebody like a Dante Foreman, who does a little bit of everything well, but it's not like that star caliber. A lot of people don't remember when Derrick Henry got hurt, Tennessee, a couple years back. I want to say Dante Foreman came in with like 8 games left and damn near had 1,000 yards. Like the kid, and he's a great pass blocker. Like the kid can play some ball. Now with Roschon, he just does everything. He was behind Bijan Robinson, of who got the nod and the bell cow, the shares of the football. But when you look at Roschon and you say, man, 6 foot, good size, 4.4, 4.5 speed, catch the ball out the backfield, has power, has agility. Like, and I say this not trying to compare, but if he's Matt Forte-esque, we're winning. Like, that's a great pickup. Great pickup. And that's all I need him to be.
Foul mouth, what you think?
I mean, like I was saying, I was happy and excited when the Bears. When the Bears drafted him. Shit, the Bulls need to draft some fucking body with some height. But yeah, I was excited when they drafted the young man. I seen him at Texas. I thought he should have went higher than what he was drafted. I think he is a sleeper guy. Obviously, the organization is real high on him. The coaches are high on him, and I'm high on him. But like I said, we won't be able to really see what he's capable of doing until they put the pads on. The same thing with our first round pick, Darnell Wright. There's one thing to do something when you ain't got no pads on, and then it's something totally different once you got them pads, when you don't have the pads on, but then it's something totally different when you do have those pads on. And I can't wait till we get those pads on so we can see what do we got out of our first round pick in Darnell Wright and in our running back selection in Mr. Roschon Johnson.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, it's gonna be a lot of fun to see when they do put them pads on who's gonna come out on top. But I'm looking to see, of course, Khalil Herbert come out on top. Roschon Johnson probably take that second string. But as you were saying, JB, Dante Foreman, when Christian McCaffrey went down, he kind of was that dude.
I'm telling you, I feel Herbert will be the odd man out if he can't produce on special teams, which also has a lot to do with Velvet Jones. But
Velvet, wait a minute, you said Velvet.
I'm Velvet Jones.
Because what the Bears need right now is just complete players. And between what Roschon showed us at Texas and what we know Dante Foreman to be, those are 2 for sure complete players. Khalil Herbert showed us, even though people be like, yeah, but he led the NFL in yards per carry. Yeah, against teams that were already down or bad team, whatever. When he was featured, he wasn't that guy. And when you have a quarterback such as Justin, the check downs and the route running from your running back position, a la, how Getsy like to do with Aaron Jones up in Green Bay, I also need you to block. Like, if you can't block as a runner, one thing you got to give David Montgomery, he was a hell of a blocking running back. Herbert, if you can't block on times when you need Justin to give Justin that extra second to second and a half, man, I got to question your value on this team. I just do.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, I've never really been a fan of Khalil Herbert. think he's a good running back. I don't think that he's going to be the running back that we need. The boy got stone hands, and you need a running back that can sit up there, that can catch the ball out the backfield, and like you said, be able to pass protect. Because there will be certain plays that's called, well, it will call for that running back to sit up there and block, stay in a block, or hell, flare out and catch a damn ball.
There you go. Which
and
is
those
key
are two of his
if you all
weaknesses
watch.
last year.
There you go. And if you all really watch, well, I say Getsy, but it's really Nathaniel Hackett's offense, of which Getsy is bringing to the Bears. Look at how many targets and how many yards Aaron Jones, the running back, had up in Green Bay. He's a focal point of the offense. And that was with Aaron Rodgers. So I need my running back to be able to catch the ball at the backfield, to be able to run starred route, to be able to, read and react when Justin calls a certain audible, if Justin isn't even allowed to audible this season. You know what I'm saying? So that position, as much as people be like, we're devaluing the running back position across the league, that's bull, because now you have a team that's telling you we want to run 65 to 35, 60 to 40. We want to play run ball control offense, play solid defense. They're telling you we're not running out there to try to score 30, 40 points a game. They're telling you this. That's why they have 3 running backs. Like when somebody tells you or shows you who they are, start believing them, fellas. They want to get off the bus running.
Yeah. So, staying in that same vein of running backs, and we're already 2 hours and 47 minutes in, so I don't know how far we're going to get with this, but we started building a top 10 list of running backs since 1980. Mm-hmm. And Damon has thrown out pretty much all of the names that we mentioned before. I don't think we said Brad Mustard. I think we did mention Brad Mustard.
Yeah, fullback Brad Mustard. Yeah.
Yeah, but he
25.
said Brad Mustard. I didn't say that dude. I don't know who that is.
We knew who he meant.
But, and Raymond Harris, I don't know who that is. I know who Raymond Harris is. But we did say Raymond Harris, and Damon is on point with that. He left out a few names though.
I mean, we had a lot of names though, T.
Because we mentioned James Allen, we mentioned Edgar Bennett.
I mean, you can go deep with that. You can go James Allen, Edgar Bennett, Merrill Hyde, Tim Worley, Marion Barber. Like we've had, Curtis, like we've had some names.
Marion Barber, rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
Well, would you really put him in your top 10 running backs?
No, I'm just saying, like, there's been so many,
yeah.
That have come through on that carries. Like, come on, man. Like, one thing that we know the Bears are known for are linebackers and running backs. Like, that's what we do.
Yeah, definitely linebackers. Running backs, sometimes we haven't been so great at picking up running backs. We've been pretty good at getting, just a serviceable running back. We've not struck gold with a running back since Matt Forte.
You know what?
Jordan Howard was not gold.
Jordan Howard wasn't here long enough.
Okay. He wasn't gold either.
I'll say, for me personally, the only questionable running backs that were picked up via draft, I'm not talking about free agency, just via the draft, unfortunately, it was probably Cedric Benson. And unfortunately, it was probably Curtis Enos. Those are the only ones that I can think of from a draft note-worthy standpoint that we just kind of like, did we really need a Cedric Benson? Like, when we drafted him 4th overall, I was like, wait a minute, man. I wanted Sean Marion at linebacker. That's what I wanted. But
that's probably who most of us wanted. Yeah.
But everybody on that list was productive. Like, Anthony Thomas was productive, back-to-back 1,000 yards. Rashawn Salam had 1,000 yards. James Allen had 1,000 yards and was catching the ball all over the place. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody on that list. Neil Anderson was no slouch. Neil Anderson was a
no slouch at all. He was top 5.
You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody on that list from Thomas Jones was a problem. I'll even go back to say this. If you all, because we said from the 80s, if Walters won, production-wise, you can kind of argue Matt Forte or Neil Anderson being number 2. You really can.
I don't know if I put Matt Forte before Neil Anderson, man.
I said you can argue it.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not gonna argue that. I put Neil Anderson at number 2, easy. But I put Matt Forte at I put Matt Forte at number 3. But that's as far as we gonna go right now because we already almost 3 hours in. So I think we should just go ahead and get shout outs and finish this on next week when we have a Bears guest.
I know who it is.
I'll mention that in the shout outs. But let's go ahead and get to shout outs, man. Foulmouth, why don't you kick it off, man?
All right. I want to give a shout out to the chat. Chat was nice tonight. I want to give a shout out to them. Give a shout out to you, 2 brothers, and our other brother that didn't make it on tonight, Frank the Tank, who's actually sick. Praying for him. T. Nick, JB, always lit. And you guys on here. Shout out to our special guest, Mr. Terry Cummings. Very informative. Good brother to talk to, and just had a blast talking with him. Said that probably could have been talking to him for 3 hours, tell you the truth, to be honest with you. Also want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Hugh, In the Zone, Under Armour, Lord's Beer, JB's choice of beer. When he does drink, he drinks Moore's.
Once a week.
Okay. Also want to give a shout out to my man, Grogu. Yeah, Grogu, who loves being on the show with us. And want everyone out there to remember to like and subscribe to the Chicago Clubhouse Podcast. When we think we know everything, but shit, we don't know shit. And shout out to the kiddies and shout out to my baby and shit. Yeah, that's it for me.
Oh, you, JB.
Well, first and foremost, shout out to you brothers. Hey, Foul, I know you fought it like a champion, but I can watch this show at work tomorrow. You did your thing, bro. You were not foul-mouthed seat tonight.
Man, you don't know how many times I said Jesus in this show. And that's really what I was trying to say.
That's probably the first time you've ever said Jesus in the show.
I said Jesus.
But no, just shout out to you for keeping the composure and everything. Shout out to Terry Cummings. I'll say it again. One of my childhood idols, one of my favorite players. Just a great historian, a great man. Like you said, a man's man. Man, well-grounded, well-balanced. Love that brother. Can't wait to have him back on. The chat, it wasn't as lit as it usually is, but it came back up a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, we love the Bears here on CCP. But we also love our Bulls and our basketball, especially Chicago homegrown talent. So with that being said, shout out to Trey 5. Shout out to the Northwest Double Dutch Club. Appreciate you all chiming in. Shout out to my man Bullets coming in all the way from LA. Brandon Hyatt, thank you for chiming in. Shout out to one Mr. Curtis Clay. When I need my information about basketball in the 70s, early 80s, man, that's one brother that knows everything. Everything. True historian of Chicago basketball. Shout out to Coach Clay. Yo, Huntley, thank you for checking in. Anthony,
Hey, my boy Marcel.
thank you for checking in. Missy 81209. Thank you. Brand new right there. Thank you for checking in. The mind came in and was on a whirlwind, man. The mind came in and was like, look, let's get it. Thank you to the mind for coming in. We appreciate the love, man. Shout out to the super producer. We haven't seen or heard from in a while, Latanya Foster Johnson, our super producer. Thank you for chiming in and coming on and just doing it behind the scenes. Love you and can't wait to chop up again. Julian Gallardo, thank you for chiming in. Appreciate it. And then last but not least, shout out to my moms. If we have one guest and only one guest, I know it's her. Love you.
She's Grogu's favorite.
She's Grogu's favorite. And that's it. That's all I got.
All right. Well, I guess I'll bring up the rear horse. But yeah, man, this was a great show. Shout out to Apostle Terry Cummings for dropping a lot of wisdom, keeping it real about what went on in NBA back in his day and how he was a beast, but he never told nobody he was a beast. He just was showed them he was a beast. So we appreciate you and all the wisdom that you brought to this podcast and the real. I'm not going to mention everybody in the chat, but I appreciate everybody that was in the chat. Thank you for watching. But, if you did not chat, but you were still watching, you are officially a lurker. But we appreciate y'all too. Put up with our foolishness. So thank you. Also, I do want to give a quick shout out to Keith Rucker. I think JB already did, but I want to do that as well because he actually looked out for all of my people, all of my homies that came to that camp. He made sure that we had a hotel room and we had a King's suite. So I definitely want to shout him out, and he definitely can count on me and all my buddies to come out every year.
I'll be there.
That camp is definitely a fulfilling experience, and the kids really appreciate it. So shout out to Keith. There is the Moors event coming up Thursday. It is it's called Beer and Barbecue. Okay. And it's at 400 North Michigan at 5:30, I believe. And it's a boat ride. So it'll be on a boat. It's 5:30 to 7:30. I believe it's like $65 or something like that. Then I think it's like all beer, all you can eat. I'm not sure. Don't put me on the all you can eat part. I'm not sure. But I do believe it's all the beer you can drink. So that should be a lot of fun. Definitely need to look into that. What else? So next week, our guest next week. I gotta stop the music. Hold on, let me stop this music. So our guest next week, we back to the Chicago Bears. And I know people are waiting in suspense like, who the fuck is it?
Don't tell them.
Don't tell them.
Wait for the promo. We'll just say this. He was definitely a fan favorite.
You heard it. You heard it from JB. So I'm not going to say nothing, but he was a fan favorite. Wait for the promo. but you all better tune in. All right, so I mean, for my man Foulmouth C, my dude JB, I'm T Nick, quarterback, point guard, whatever the fuck you want to call me.
And our boy Grogu.
And Grogu, I can't forget Grogu. Oh, shout out to Frank, man. Frank would have enjoyed that hockey talk that Apostle TC was giving us. He would have enjoyed that. But
Yeah, I wore my hockey jersey in honor of Frank.
Mom's ass was that a Connor Bedard?
No.
No, okay.
I ain't that much of a hockey fan.
All right, with all that being said, man, I'm done with the shout outs. And do we have anything else we want to say?
Don't forget to like and subscribe. Tell your friends, all our Facebook family. We love you. We appreciate it. Please move over to YouTube. Better service, and you'll see why in the future why we said move over to YouTube.
Yes.
Bring you better experiences.
Yes, you will see.
Yeah, tell some damn people. Like this shit. Subscribe to this shit.
You got to decide whether you're a wolf or a sheep.
You got to decide. Are you a wolf or are you a sheep?
You got to decide whether your ass gonna subscribe or not. Subscribe, damn it.
This has been a Chicago Clubhouse Network production. We out. See ya. See ya.
Night, Canada.
Good night, Ghana.
Night, Canada. Alas.
See ya.
Oh, it won't play? That's what we own? It won't play?
I don't know what the fuck T over there doing.
It won't play.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.
Take y'all ass home.
It
See you next
finally
week.
played. It finally played.
See you next week.